Hello and welcome back to the Juggernaut Bolt Action Podcast. I'm here with the three Dan, Sheffy and Toph. Welcome back.
Ho.
Ho, ho, ho to you bitch.
Howdy ho. Howdy
ho.
Oh dear, I think we've lost it.
It's December, it's Christmas.
Yeah, well,
Christmas!
Humbug. I can only do so much Christmas.
I actually put my tree up today.
Shocking.
Yeah, well, I waited till my youngest was asleep so we didn't get to enjoy any of the fun, and then I made sure it was all done by the time we woke up, because that's my Christmas spirit. I don't want to involve the kids, it's too much effort. Look, have you ever put a tree up, spent an hour doing it, just for your little shitty kid to come and eat all the balls and all that off and just tear your tree down? It's fucking annoying. Fuck that.
Mate, I don't have kids.
Good, don't have them. They're shit.
We put the church Christmas tree up this morning, and so I had to corral 14 children into decorating and putting up a tree. It was chaos.
I'm so glad you finished.
I
was so glad he finished that sentence after corral the 14 kids to help decorate, rather than just into a cupboard somewhere.
It's Christmas. Let me be wholesome.
La 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 la.
Oh, please don't sing. It'll give us all tinselitis.
Sheffield puts his kids in his van. Fa la 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 la.
Oh, enough of that. What the hell have we been up to, lads?
We went to a GT.
No, we didn't.
Oh, we did.
No, we didn't, was that Dan?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Dan has a very peculiar set of salts for this episode. Normally we record an episode and then come up with the name afterwards. I think we're quite secure that this episode is going to be called The Good, the Bad and the Salty.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Thanks to Dan. So
Absolutely.
We have rock salt, deep sea salt, table salt.
So this month for me, I did some GT prep. I went to the GT. I got salty about the GT, and then I got over it. And then I wrote an event pack for our doubles event coming up in February, and I finally got that released.
Yeehaw.
Woo.
So basically, guys, 29th of February, come to Leicester, roll some dice with us, and if you haven't heard about it yet, go check out our Facebook page.
There's nothing to get the blood pumping for an event that you're running than going to one that is less than stellar.
Yeah, by comparison, ours will be, chalk
Bearable.
and cheese compared to the GT, won't it? So.
We've got Pete doing the stats, man. Like, Pete's number pro.
Mate.
He eats data for breakfast.
Just a disclaimer to all those that go. If you disturb me while I'm working scores out, you'll probably get a rude response, and I'm sorry.
He's Lieutenant Crunch.
Captain Crunch will literally force me to take it in the ass again if I get it wrong.
He's Captain Critch's data bitch.
But we're using our Juggernaut format as usual. I'll tell you what, guys. Since the GT debacle.
Diabolical.
The what?
Debacle.
That is brilliant. It's a combination of debacle and bollocks, and I think diabolical is.
I think he was going for diabolical. To be fair,
It's utter diabolical.
Oh, he's trying so hard now.
Brilliant.
We have received a lot of interest in the pack. Actually, have you guys noticed that? Because I know I've been kind of answering a lot of emails and messages.
Yeah.
Like, oi, Toph, what are you doing? And I'm just like, well, here's what I'm doing. Come check it out.
There's a few of them that I saw come into our box and went, you know what, I'll leave them to Toph.
I think the other night, on my Friday night, I just sat there for 3 hours on my iPad talking shit about our pack.
Well,
it's pretty fun.
You do need an excuse to ignore your wife.
Wow.
I don't need one to ignore yours, though.
Oh. Well, you needed heating for the winter. That sick burn might help.
Careful. We have been recording less than 10 minutes and we're already turning this into loose women.
Enough about Toast Mom.
So, we had a lot of people asking about our pack. We've got a few more events signed up. Rebel Creek?
Rebel Creek.
January.
Rebel Creek. That you said you're not going to, but you blatantly will.
You know how I wasn't going to go to that because my son's birthday is the day beforehand.
Yeah.
Guess who booked off a day off work and booked tickets to Legoland on the Friday?
Hey! Probably coming to Rebel Creek.
Probably coming to Rebel Creek. So this is what I'm predicting now.
That'll be 3 or 4 of us.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
Which would be good.
There's a few more people in the States, different tournaments have cropped up, and guys, I found one tournament using our pack that didn't credit us.
Oh, how
Tosses.
hard off do you feel?
I mean, there was a brief minute where I had like a 5-minute rant in my head, and then I thought, fuck it, at least they're like playing the game properly.
But I think it's a fantastic pack for tournament play, I'll be honest.
Yeah, because they just put it like, oh, we're playing Juggernaut format, but they'd copied all of our text and like removed all of the links to our like website and our email address and our Facebook page and all that. And it's like, come on, mate, that's a bit mean. at least give it credit where it's due.
I'd expect that in China, not the freedom-loving USA.
Leave them to it, whatever. At least, they're playing proper ball action. But all I will say is you know who you are, you cunt.
Wow. Wow.
And I know who you are, so stop being mean and give me credit.
So this is what it's about. It's not about the Juggernauts receiving credit. It's about Toth receiving credit.
Hey, I received...
This is the guy that searches for credit by trying to bribe officials with painting.
I receive the hate when it's due, so I receive the credit when it's due. I don't see a problem with this.
No, you've got a point.
Yeah, if you guys want to receive some hate, that's fine. Step up. Especially you, Dan. You deserve some hate.
I'll receive it after my What Went Wrong edition later.
True. Talking about the Juggernaut format, people have been asking us to fix MMGs.
Oh, that is such a big problem.
Yeah. I'll answer this. The short question is that we all agree, and everybody who seems to use our pack agrees, that MMGs are rubbish. They don't do the thing that they're meant to do in bolt action, which is suppress infantry. We've complained about this before. The difficulty is there's about 4 or 5 different ways of potentially fixing it, but it's really hard to know how it feels until you've actually played the games. And because we've been preparing for the GT and we don't just play bolt action, believe it or not, although it is mainly what we play, we just haven't had the time to properly give it a go. So we've got a couple of things we'd like to try regarding MMG fixes, but we're not ready to house rule it in the Juggernaut pack yet, just because we're not entirely sure it'll work. So we're going to urge patience on that, if you don't mind. We'll let you know what we're going to do to fix MMGs. It'll probably be something really simple, but we need to see if it'll actually fix it first, if that makes sense. There's no point saying, here's an MMG fix that only makes it worse.
Or here's an MMG fix that makes them an auto take. As nice as that would be, we don't want to make something a complete auto take.
Yeah, and you don't want to end up with, 53 pages of house rules that eventually just rewrites the rule book for bolt action, and we end up with our own edition of bolt action.
We've already got a lot of rules, and that there's fixing the game, and then there's turning it into something else. And although we could sit here adding rules and fixes to everything, it's exercising caution into it, because you still want to be playing bolt action, you still want to be recognisably bolt action. So if we come up with a rule like, here's you get your MMG, and then you cross-reference it with this table, and you apply that rule, and it's just like, you want something quick and easy and dirty.
Fundamentally, MMGs aren't broken in the game. They're just not as effective as they should be. So it's not like, it's not like the Tiger Fear rule for Germans, which is a bit broken, especially after the new FAQ to say you can do it even in vehicles and stuff. So we've tried to fix that as much as we can. MMGs are fine, they're just not as effective as some other units.
Our house rules deal with the things that are brazenly stupid or idiotic, or have the potential to massively imbalance it. MMGs are not a game in balance. They're just something that feels like it's lacking, and because it's such a critical component of the World War II sort of atmosphere, having lots of MMGs, it just feels a little bit lackluster that they're not there. So it's not a priority. We'd like to try something, but we don't want to fill more than a page of special rules.
See, critical aspect of some battlefields, sure. See, I'm on the fence bit where, sure, World War One MMGs were everywhere, but in World War Two they were everywhere, but they were also outmaneuvered. It pushed into more of a mobile warfare towards World War Two.
I mean, it was mobile because they were there. That made you go around. They didn't learn that bit at World War One. They just ran at it. World War Two was like, let's not run at it. Let's go around, around the outside.
Round the outside. Round the outside.
No singing. Right. We have a long podcast already awaiting ahead of us, so shall we get on a move on?
Are we doing our disclaimer?
I was going to say, disclaimer time. This is going to be a very salty episode. At least...
For any who went to or have seen any of the feedback on Facebook about the GT since it happened, you will understand.
So, with that in mind, this is your official saltiness disclaimer. Sit back, pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold water, drink plenty of fluids, because from here on in, things are gonna get salty.
All I will say is we are the definition of a loud minority. We are only one small part of a small war game. You know? So just because we say something doesn't mean that's the universal opinion, as much as Dan and Sheffy might try to tell you otherwise.
Toph thinks I've lost weight. We're on the spot part.
You're such a hypocrite. It's unbearable. Guys, everybody give me the credit for my amazing gold-plated pack that I've produced. Everyone, you need to credit me for everything because I'm amazing, says Toph. And also, we're small and humble. You don't need to listen to us.
No, it's not. No,
That's why we have our own podcast. So the world can hear our tiny voices. We all know that ours is the only opinion that matters, though. That is true.
I was going to say...
Yeah.
You've broken me.
Other people have opinions. They're just wrong.
The problems with the GT as well that we'll go into were caused by multiple like errors that all cascaded into one beautiful error of hilariousness. So although we're getting pretty angry, I don't think it'd be fair for us to blame any individual person. This is much bigger than any one person.
Yeah, some things were unavoidable, some things were very avoidable, but we'll give fair scores based on that.
Yeah. Right. Come on then, let's get started.
Oh yeah.
Okay, guys, so we're doing our after-action report for the GT. This will be the same as all the other after-action reports we've done in the past. So we've got the same out of 5 rating for event pack, venue, terrain, missions, organisation, atmosphere, and prizes. And just to warm you up, we've got a little mini game about how salty Dan is. So we're gonna let Dan off his little leash and just let him go. See how far he runs and how far he takes it, and we'll interrupt as necessary.
Yeah, so this is almost a mini rag. So what we did after the GT is I sat down and I just spoke to the guys on the group chat and just thought, right, let's try and make a list of everything that went wrong. And we've got 21 points. So I want you to stop me when you feel I'm getting petty. And it's something that, I'm just nitpicking now. And it's something that I'm being a dick about. So number 1, no official clarification on the rules pack, even though we asked for it many times. 2, no official clarification on how to build armies, and when we were given clarification on it from Warlord staff, this turned out to be wrong. Number 3, list submissions were sent in, they were rejected for rules breaches that weren't apparent to us, and some of you will remember on the last pod, I said that I will guarantee I will play an illegal army, and I did, because it was an unofficial PDF list, even though that is the only thing that is clarified on the GT pack. Number 4, escalation format is definitely not suitable for a GT. Number 5, we'll cover this in the venue, but the main venue hall, the roof caved in. About 4 days before the event actually took place. So not a good start. Number 6, delays in the registration process. People that bought tickets online had their names down twice, one as their actual name and one as a web bought ticket. So it took about an extra 45 minutes to register in the morning. Number 7, delays in pairings. Initially, they paired the open side with the comp side. And then when they changed it all around, they had the comp side and open side separate. But everyone was on the same table. So they had 2 games on tables 1 through 40. For some apparent reason, no one knows why. Number 8, no scorecards for recording who won. It was just go up to the TO and say who won the game and who got the secondary objective. This will become very important later on. Number 9, never before seen custom missions on some boards. And these missions, when you first started to play them at the start of the first round, they had no piece of paper to tell you how to actually play the mission. That was only brought around 15 minutes into the game. So that's a good one as well. Number 10, the draw for the second round, bearing in mind it was supposed to be a 4-game day, it took 2 hours to calculate the scores and do the draw for the second round because the computer system they were using crashed. So we went from playing... it took us until, what was it, about 1 o'clock to play one 750-point game and have lunch. And that is it. Number 11, the missions for round 1 were all random per the tables. So you could be playing point defense on one, double envelopment on the second one. And then for round 2, this all changed and everyone played the same mission because they'd fucked up the scoring and they couldn't be asked to figure out who was supposed to play what mission.
Did that mean some people played the same mission twice?
Yes, that meant exactly that. People played the same mission in 2 games running, which is just completely unacceptable. So if you want to do everyone plays the same mission, which is what you should do because it's a GT, everyone should be on level pegging, everyone should play that every single round. Not, we'll do some random missions and throw in some of the ones that we've invented ourselves, even though that no one's ever seen them before and it's a GT. Then the second round they went to everyone plays the same mission, and then for the third and fourth round they went back to multiple missions again because they had got the computer system working by then. Number 12, the table drawing system was not done properly. People ended up playing on the same boards more than once, so I actually played the same mission game 1 and 4, and I actually played the same board game 2 and 4. My round 3 opponent, he had just played on table 25 with the mission key positions, and then for the draw for round 3, he was on the same table with key positions again. They hadn't even changed it. It was pathetic. Number 13, because of the delays earlier in the game, probably about 50% of the people playing left after game 3, which was at 5 o'clock, which is when a normal tournament would finish. And because of all the delays, we were actually supposed to be finishing around about 6 o'clock after game 4. But half of the people left, which means a whole bunch of pairings just didn't do anything, just had no one on the other end of the table because people had fucked off. You know, there was one gaming group of about 4 people. 3 of them said, we're going, and one of them was in the comp side and he wanted to stay, but because all of his mates was going and they were the ride, he had to fuck off with them, which was baffling. And this actually caused Juggernaut Luke to play game 1. He played Paul Wickens at Demolition on a board, I can't remember which one it was, and then game 4, because of everyone leaving, he played Paul Wickens at Demolition on the same board. So he got an exact match game 1 and 4, which is pointless. And then when they went to the TO and said, can we swap, we're middle table, we've already played each other at this board at this exact mission, the TO just said, no, that's what you've got. Even though they can't win the tournament, it's got nothing to do except just have a bit of fun for the last game. So they just said, fuck it, we'll make our own mission and roll out the book and do that. Anyway, for games, point number 14, for the final game of the day, on the open side, because so many people had left, competitors were told to find their own opponents and choose a mission to play because there were so few people left. Point number 15, also for the final game, once you'd found your own opponent, you were to agree a points level. So you could choose between 750, 1,000 and 1250, even though you were supposed to play 1250 for the final game. Because so many people had fucked off, they just didn't care anymore.
To clarify, is that for both open and comp, or just
That's
comp?
just for the open. That's just for the open. So for the final game for open, you were told to find your own opponent, find your own table, find your own mission, and then decide on what points level you can be bothered to play. Because obviously it's open, no one really cares because it's supposed to be about having fun. So point 16, between games 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, the scoring system they were used crashed and they lost every single result. And by every result, this is where the scorecards come in. If you'd have had the scorecards, which is just a tiny slip of paper that just says player 1, player 2, win, loss, draw, they just they had nothing going into game 2 and 3. They had to just make everything up, and this led to a lot of questionable results, which we'll go into when we do the proper review. So point 17 is scorekeeping. A lot of people's results were recorded incorrectly. I, for instance, had won my first 2 games, and halfway through game 3, Russ, who was helping out on the day, comes over to me and says, "Dan, did you lose your first game?" I said, "No, mate, I won both of my games so far." He said, "Huh, that's strange, because you're down as 1 win and 1 loss so far." There was another guy, one of the players from Spain. He said he'd won all 4 of his games, and they had him down as 2 wins and 2 losses by the end of the tournament, and he would have actually won the tournament if they'd have kept the scores correct. So he was a bit pissed off, to say the least.
How many more points we got?
4 more.
Oh.
So next is tiebreakers. They were done on strength of schedule, but obviously when people can't keep the scores correctly and you end up playing someone much further down the line who would have got 1 win, 1 loss when you should be playing someone with 2 wins, that as a tiebreaker when it came to the final round, which we'll see later, actually affected the results of who won the GT. Point 19, when we were talking to Warlord on the day, they said that they will be sticking with the escalation format for the GT next year, and they will be sticking with the way that the armies are built as well. Point 20, complete breakdown of communications before the event. No official communications. Any communications that were given to us by Warlord personnel was wrong. Anything you saw on various Facebook posts and email replies were never official. They were just, we think this is how it should be done. And there was never an FAQ given to say, this is what the player pack is actually supposed to mean, even though we ask for it all the time. And then the last one of all, this is where I'm starting to get petty now. They misprinted all of the vouchers, so all of the 3 podium finishers got a certificate that said GT first prize, which is just completely bonkers as well. And I'm done.
Sorry, I'm buried under a mountain of salt.
That was frustrating, as I wanted to say, "Oh, you're getting too petty," but you wasn't saying anything I didn't agree with.
If I really wanted to be picky, I'd say that point 20 is very similar to point 1 and 2 about the pack being clarified incorrectly or not clarified at all and getting conflicting information.
Point 20 was more of there were emails sent out from a couple of people, and there were replies on various Facebook posts where people are tagged in their mate that works at Warlord sort of thing. And it's like, oh, this is how you do it. But when it's like, when we kept saying, send out a proper FAQ then to say, this is how it is all supposed to be done, nothing was ever done. There was no communication officially whatsoever. But anyway, let's go on to the scoring.
I was going to say, that's me complaining about that is like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It's like so trivially unimportant.
Yeah.
But the deck chair is in the wrong place.
I mean, there was a lot wrong. We'll go through the individual categories and rank them, but I don't think we really need to go too deep into it. I don't want to turn this into an hour and a half segment, because what happened is out there on the internet. I think everyone's pretty aware of what our thoughts are. The main issues Dan's just summoned up. So, come on then, event pack. What's your thoughts on it? It seems so redundant.
I mean, they had an event pack. It did some parts, despite them ignoring some parts. So 2.
I mean,
yeah.
we've spoken about this like for the past a few episodes now. So everything about in regards to like the escalation format, and then just the lack of specifications about what they actually want, and then the fact that they kept changing it, and there was stuff that should have been in the pack that wasn't in the pack. 1 from me. They might as well have not blooming had 1 at points.
Yeah, I don't mind the escalation format. Like, I know that makes me the minority in the chat at the moment, but actually, I don't necessarily mind. But then I was going to be open. So, even putting that to one side, though, you'd hope for the basic levels of clarification that just weren't there, and that makes it a 2 for me.
Yeah, I agree with you for the open side. The escalation format is brilliant. It's themed, it's fluffy, it makes for a good story or a little campaign through it. But The only rules that they enforced in that pack were you had to bring an army from these army books, and that is it. And then when I got there, the only rule in their pack was broken because someone bought an unofficial PDF Polish list. So they can't even do that right. So if I'm able to, I'll give it a 0 because it was just it was a waste of paper to be printed out, honestly. I feel sorry for the tree that died to have to print out 80 sets of that fucking garbage.
Good job
Wow.
in 2019 with PDF copies.
If I can't give it a 0, though, it'll have to be a 1.
Mate,
It was pointless. It was absolutely pointless.
The only bigger waste of paper is a Topher Painting Award.
Oh!
I've got to take the opportunities when they come
No,
up.
that's fine. That's I understand. That's fine. So that's a 1.5 for pack.
It's a bit high, isn't it?
Well, venue.
Which one?
So here's my opinion on it. The fact that the original venue was condemned by the council a week beforehand, that's just an act of God. There's not much that Warlord could have done about that.
Whoa! Let's not go too far down that
The
road.
government isn't God. It's the act of the council.
No,
Yeah.
the fact that it fucking pissed it down for like 2 months straight, or at least it's climate change.
Yeah.
Pick one. It's an act of man. There you go.
It's an act of Trump.
It's just something you could not foresee, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's a problem. That's fine. And I think Warlord, for the most part, they stepped up. They went, right, here's a problem. We're going to try and fix it. We're going to try and And I think to get another location within a week and be able to put some on, that's a credit where it's due. That's fair, because it would have been very easy for them to go, no, we're just not going to do it. And
Not only that,
yeah.
that venue would normally be charging you for parking. They got free. Would normally not let you bring in outside, food people. They let them do it anyway. That venue bent over backwards to get them in there. So I'm actually going to score this one quite high myself.
I was going to say, I wasn't there, but I think you should score it based on the quality of the facility and then the last minute. And then whatever you score it for, high or otherwise, you should then halve it because it was only 1 day instead of 2.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's kind of how I'm going, because the facility was one of the Nottingham University's facilities, and it was really good. It was nice. It was open. It was spacious. You didn't get the gamer stink. It was free parking. It was, the toilets were small. That was my only real gripe. Oh well, and the doors didn't
Toilets
close
are small.
properly.
They got a bit stinky, but there's like 80 dudes
Yeah,
using them. So.
but then the one downside is it wasn't suitable for what was required, because they could only have it on the Saturday, not 2 days. So as nice as it wasn't what we needed.
Go on, give me a number then.
3. Middle of the road 3. Big one for me for biggish events is there's no bar to drown my sorrows in, and the toilets got very stinky.
For me, I think the fact that they got that room at all and they didn't cancel the GT was well played to Warlord for sourcing somewhere, and especially somewhere so nice as well. It was a top quality venue, to be fair, and they're thinking of using that venue for next year's GT if they do it again. So I would give it a 4 for that, but because they had to go down to a 1 day event, it's just a 2. It's not a fucking GT.
Oh, he's still salty.
No,
I wasn't there, but I don't think I can actually pass vote on this.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to give it a 3, but I'm really torn about it, because it's not suitable. You know what I mean? Like, if I lived in a mansion and I spent 20 million making the best gaming facility in the world, and literally, hot ladies came and served you hors d'oeuvres as you were rolling dice, and it was free booze on tap, and it was amazing with your own
Whoa,
waiter
where
and
can I
private
get
driver.
this venue?
Yeah, but if you could only fit 4 people in it, then there's no point. You know what I mean? So it's one of those weird ones. So I'm going to go with a 2, and I'll tell you why. So, although they couldn't do the Sunday, what Warlord did is they said, well, we have room for a few tables at their head office. So I think they set up like 6 tables or something, and so like the Spanish guys, the German guys who were over because of flights, they could go and roll dice on the Sunday and all that, and that's fine. But if there were enough tables for like 6 games at once on the Sunday, why didn't you take the top tables from the competitive event, so at least the guys who had a shot at winning could go and compete as a full GT, as almost like a qualifier. You know what I mean? And just go, look, sorry for everyone, but if you manage to score in the top 20, say, we can facilitate you the next day. And then still give everyone their £10 voucher, still give everyone their money back, but if you can do that anyway, why not? That was my thoughts anyway. So I'm going to give it a 2.
Ooh.
Which feels harsh, but, you know.
Yeah.
And if Chef is abstaining, that gives it an average of about a 2.5. Unless he's going to come and sideswipe with an Omega score.
Sheffy comes in with a 6.
The venue looked good in photographs, but then I can't really say I wasn't there.
Oh, another thing about the venue as well is when we were there during registration.
Oh yeah, the lights went off.
They turned the lights off, and then they couldn't figure out how to get them back on for 40 minutes.
We'll
So it's a good job we were delayed.
I think that's a fabulous metaphor for the organisation in general.
Fun fact, it's the old Carlton TV studios that the university now owns. So it's where they recorded such classics as Bullseye and Supermarket Sweep.
Are you saying we should have got a dartboard and a trolley?
Price is Right.
We were all there saying, look at what the GT could have been.
Dave Lane, come on down! just squinting for Dale Winton to come out the dark.
I think that's why they turn the lights off. It doesn't come out when it's too bright.
Yeah, right. Let's give that.
So
let's give that
terrain.
a 2 of 5. Yep.
I played second game on a board that looked like it'd been. I'm going to be brutal here. Looked like it'd been set up by somebody that had just gone, that'll do. And for me, that's a little annoying.
Yeah.
You basically, if you weren't playing if you played the bocage as bocage, you couldn't see anything. And if you played the bocage as hedges, you could still barely see anything. So, and although a lot of the tables were fine, it still doesn't mean I'm going to score incredibly high. I'm going to middle of the road it on a 3 again because they had terrain for every board.
I think quality-wise it was fine, and quantity-wise it was fine. The problem is that they didn't set it out properly, so the quantity wasn't spread over the tables, if that makes sense. You had some tables that was like fighting in Stalingrad, and it was absolutely over the top. Jesus. And there were some tables where it was basically like, there's 2 hills and a tree. Knock yourself out. And, like, I know a bit of variety is good. You want to have tables with a bit of mixed, like, a mixed quality of terrain, but not like that. That was far too much. No, not far too much. It was not enough for what was required on some tables, as we'll come into when we talk about our experiences next segment. There was definitely some games that got horrendously swung just because of the terrain.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with Pete. I played on a board with a load of hedges and stuff, and like he said, that they were actually taller than the models. So before the game, we had to say, are we playing these as you can actually see over them and be shot at, or are we playing them as, true low sight so you can't shoot infantry? And there was one of my games where there was no terrain at all except for 4 buildings in the middle of the board, and that is it. So yeah, it was a bit all or nothing really. So I'm going to go for a middle of the road 3.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3 as well, judging from pictures, and also from I'm just going to be the voice of Ken, who's the Eccentric Man YouTube channel. One of the things he observed, and I think he's right from looking at some of the photos, is that actually the terrain was better on the tables allocated for open play. So they looked across at the comp players and thought that everything looked a bit more Spartan and a bit more utilitarian, and they had a bit more character to their boards, they thought. And he wasn't saying this is a bad thing or a good thing necessarily, but he observed that there was a difference in the quality between the 2 events. Yeah.
One thing I would say, though, is a bit of kudos to Warlord Games for actually, with the roof caving at their old place, they managed to wrangle up a few helpers on the Friday to come and help transport all the terrain and getting all of that terrain over to a new venue and getting it all set up on time when you've been given a couple of days' notice is not bad, actually. So I'll give them a point for that. Otherwise, it would have been a 2.
I agree. I think a 3 is fair. I think it's just a case they seemed like there was a lot of work, and I think they were all a bit rushed in getting it done. And I think that was the main problem here, rather than, they just didn't invest in the terrain enough. I don't think that's the problem. I just think, as Pete said, they kind of went, fuck it, that'll do, and just kind of threw it down in some places.
Yeah. It was very much the attitude of the whole day, though, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, towards the afternoon, it was a that'll do,
Yeah, just 12 more hours and we're through this. Yeah. Just 11 more hours and we're through this.
Yeah. Right, missions. Now, as somebody that actually played one of these random new missions, First game, actually, I had to go over to the TO and be like, what the hell is this mission? It's not even in the rules pack. What's going on? To which I got, oh yeah, AR, we'll give you the mission. Quite nice. Give me the pack with a mission in it, which was it was another tournament's rules pack. So that was a bit weird.
Yeah, so the initial rules pack said we'll only be playing missions out of the rulebook, to which we all sigh because we all know that includes Manhunt and Surrounded and Envelopment and Demolition, Top Secret, and all these shitty missions that we just think are awful.
Surrounded's alright.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, Surrounded's alright.
It's not the worst of those 6, let's put it that way.
Manhunt's garbage and Top Secret is boring, but yeah.
You know, but what they didn't do is they went and added a load of custom missions in, didn't tell anyone, didn't give anyone any forewarning, and then left the shit missions in. So what we had all of the 12 missions, including the shit ones, and then added in some missions that no one knew how to play unless you'd played these at like other taunts or something. Didn't provide anyone with copies of the mission until they literally got to the table, and then they had to go and ask for them, and it was even on the table waiting for them. So it's just a complete and utter just shit show.
Yeah, me and my opponent first round had to give up 20 minutes of the time limit to read the fucking mission.
Yeah.
And I think if you're at a competitive event, so you're trying to keep things balanced, yeah? Okay, one person's played that mission 5 times, the other person's never heard of it. Is that fair?
No, the thing is, the core rulebook missions standardise the game. They might standardise it badly with some of the missions, but at least they standardise it. I'd have hated to have been one of the... perhaps this is a little bit sort of Eurocentric, but it's like if I spoke a different language and I went over to Germany or to Spain to play in an event over there and they had a custom mission, I'm blank on that completely. And there were people coming over, and if English isn't your first language and you're not necessarily that confident with it, one of the things you fall back on is that I know the game, I know the missions. You can't just throw random ones in there for something that's got people travelling.
Yeah, and there were quite a lot of European players there, because I think, obviously, Spain, who won the WTC, they brought 6 players across, I think. The German
more like
team,
8, but yeah.
Yeah, the German team brought 2 as well. The French team had loads. I think they brought 2 teams across, so I think they had maybe 8 or 9 players at one point across the 2, the Open and the Comp. So having those missions for players who
aren't familiar with English.
First. Yeah, it's a total clusterfuck. And then on top of that as well, there are a couple of missions that they said, oh, by the way, this is how we're going to be playing these missions from the rulebook, and point defense was one of them. So game 4, I played a French player, and I beat him because I said, I'm going to write down which objective I'm attacking, and he said, yep, okay, whatever. And then he played the game as if it was from the rulebook. So at the end, when he's like, I'm on these 2 objectives, I was like, brilliant, mate, that's great, but I was attacking that one. And he was like, oh, what do you mean? It's like, that, as in the pack, I'm attacking that one, I've written down which one I'm attacking. And then his mate had to come across and explain to him in French the changes that had been made. And it's like, well, brilliant. So they don't understand what's going on even when you do give clarification, because it's right at the end of the pack, hidden away somewhere in one sentence. So it was just completely bonkers.
To toot our horn as the Juggernaut with our own format, there's nothing wrong with custom missions. We've got custom missions. We've got 6 of them at the back of our format. But the thing is, they're there, they're loud, they're clear. You can read them. So if you go to an event and you don't know them, that's specifically your fault because you've had access to them all the time. What's not on is when you just force them on people. Go, hey, look, custom missions. Haha, get good. Like,
yeah,
it's forgetting it from a different game system entirely. Was it yours, Pete? Someone got given something that it wasn't even for bolt action. Didn't someone get a rule book for a mission from like Blood Red Skies or something?
No.
Spurley played Kitty Hawk Down, which was a GT.
That is a bolt action one.
It's a mission where about 3 or 4 turns in, a helicopter comes crashing down or something. 10d6 onto the board along the middle line, and then that then becomes the objective. How can you have such a random mission?
Yeah, I was going to say, nothing says balanced competitive tournament that factors in the skill of players and army composition like random chaos.
Yeah, it was just bonkers. And then, obviously, in my list, I've already said between games 1, 2, and 3, they changed the random, everyone plays the same, back to random. But then they didn't even clarify to people, if you've played the same mission, you can change it. There were probably 20, 30 people that played the same mission multiple times throughout the day. It was just, and for a GT as well, you just think, if my army is really good at capturing objectives, if I play key positions 4 times because you keep fucking up the draw, that obviously favours me. It's just not fair on everyone else, and they couldn't even get that right.
So that's a 5 for missions then, is it, Dan?
Oh yeah, it's another 1, mate.
I'm giving it a 2 because they were there. They had.
I'm
missions.
abstaining.
We all got missions. It was a thing.
Pete gives them an extra point because they had missions.
Just do you know what?
Look, it could have been a whole lot worse. It could have been an entire
can you
pack
that,
or an entire tournament of just random. Here's missions from these random events we've picked. Nothing from the rulebook. At least we were still playing some rulebook.
You hear that, guys? You hear that? That's the sound of Pete scraping the barrel.
Oh, we've got a really. Let's not go off on too much of a tangent.
Organisation.
Can you rate something that didn't exist?
As I said, this isn't anyone's fault. You know what I mean? Like, you had Gaz and Colin, the guys running it. This isn't their fault. You had Simon, the community warlord manager. This isn't his fault. You had Russell, who had come to play and had been offered his time as, rather than playing in this GT, I'll help to run the damn thing. It's not his fault. But all of it added together was it just didn't work. It just did not work. I mean, how can you have 2 hours between rounds as you're fucking sorting out numbers? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? And then getting everyone's numbers wrong and scores, and then just damn takeover.
Yeah. So if you look at it step by step, you think, right, okay, the venue's fucked up. That's not your fault. Registration. You might want to just have a quick look down the list to see who's on it. Oh, look, we've got 20 people that say web bought tickets. I wonder who they could be. Oh, we'll only find out the morning of the event that they're doubled with everyone else that's already registered as a second ticket.
Something you forgot on that was that they didn't have Warlord didn't give the list to them for those that had won tournaments and got the free tickets.
Yeah, that's another thing. And then between games 1 and 2, all of the scoring system completely collapsed. The whole system crashed, and it took him another 3 hours to get it all sorted again.
I think it's just so frustrating. You can hear it in our voices. It's sort of, in so many ways, the organisation of this it's tournament 101. Because actually gamers are usually pretty forgiving of things that are outside of your control. We're forgiving of the building. We're forgiving of even of computer breaking. But if you don't have a list of the people that you're attending, the ability to sort them into pairs, a way of scoring correctly, a way of making sure people are drawn on the correct tables, if you haven't got these 4 or 5 basic things right, you can't really call what you're doing a tournament. You're just turning up and hoping it works. It's just it's all the basic stuff that you should be able to build a contingency for.
What I will say on that is, there was a few things that went wrong throughout the day, which you can sort of account for and think this may happen, but at no point did they have a backup. So when the scoring system completely fucked it up, they didn't think, oh well, lucky for us, we've got 50 score sheets from the first game. Let's quickly write them all down and match them up. Bish bash bosh. No, they had no score sheets. All the scores were gone. What the fuck do we do? There was just no, like you said, there's no contingency for, if this goes wrong, how can we fix it? It just completely went tits up.
Did Alistair, what's his name? Alistair Omnicron, what's his name? The Scottish guy. Did he go?
No.
Unicron. Sorry, mate. Omnicron. That's the guy from...
Alistair, we're sorry that Sheffy cannot pronounce your goddamn name.
It's fine. Omnicron sounds like Alistair's a transformer.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't Omnicron the one that was voiced by Orson Welles? That
Please
the giant
go
worldie?
Listen to the Home Guard Transformers podcast, which is obviously better than the Juggernaut podcast.
Sorry, there was a point in it. So did Alistair go? Was he there?
No.
No, the Scottish team pulled out once the venue once the roof collapsed and they were turning it to a 1 day, they all said, "Fuck that."
I think they were a bit borderline anyway, even before that, to be honest.
Because it's a slight tangent, but one of the things that I know from him, I know he listens, so hopefully he might say, one of the worst tournament bits of feedback I've ever heard was from the Blood Bowl International, and he went to that, and it just, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And I'd be interested to know whether he thought this was worse. It's of a smaller scale, without doubt, but I'd be interested to know if it was worse at the GT than at the BB International.
Yeah.
I just think it's a communication thing, isn't it? That's what it primarily comes down to. I just don't think all the different components were talking to each other. Like, and that's how you get to when we ask the question, how do you build your lists? That's how you get 5 answers, because they don't seem to have a voice.
Yeah, another thing as well is midway through the day, after we'd had our 2-hour delay between games 1 and 2. Not a lot of people know this.
That was boring.
Yeah, not a lot of people know this, but we were in cahoots with the Warlord team and a few of the like Russell and stuff like that. So the initial plan was, what they're going to do is they're going to drop game 4. We're already 2 hours behind schedule. We're going to drop game 4. We're going to make it a 3-day game, 2 750s and 1,000. That's your GT. Everyone's happy, except no one would have been happy. So what did they do? They kept it as a 4-game tournament. And they made the last 2 games of 1,000 and 1,250 points. They made it both a 2-hour time limit rather than a 2 hours 15 and a 2 hours 45, or whatever it was. But then they didn't tell anyone. So people were playing their 1,250 game, and they'd got through the first round of the first turn, and it's like, oh, we've only got an hour and a half left. I wonder why that is. It's because they said it for 2 hours and didn't tell anyone. It's just little bits like that where you think all you had to do, shout at the top of your voice, by the way, guys, you've not got 45 minutes extra that you thought you had this game. Play quicker.
Slight. I'm going to speak for the open side again, who don't have an advocate in the chat. One of the things that, again, Ken points out, which is a really interesting thing, is that the open and comp events were quite often out of sync. They prioritised getting the comp stuff going first, but there was only one clock timer. And so they were playing their open games, the same points value, the same missions as you, but 20 minutes behind.
They had a weird timer because once the comp had finished, the open guys you've got 20 minutes left, and
so Paul was walking around with his phone, wasn't he, with a stop clock on it.
Yeah,
credit to both Paul and Russell. They because Russell actually just drafted himself into help that day. So a pair of them keeping that open one going, because it left the others, the rest of the team, to be able to focus on the comp event.
It's kind of good, but when Warlord have set the event up in the event pack and to deliberately run it as 2 streams, there's nothing in the event pack that says sort of, and this is the priority one. They didn't say, and we'll be prioritising the comp. And you can understand sort of why they did, because they want to prioritise the comp, I think. And
on the day there were...
And there were a lot more.
There were 58 comp players, I think, and there were 30 open. So it was number one priority for them.
So nobody begrudged that necessarily that they got prioritised, but at the same time, the open side felt like second-class citizens in that, because, and I'll come to this when you talk about prizes in a bit as well. But it did feel like it's not that the focus of the event was different. It felt like they were the optional.
The thing is, though,
I think that's not.
Is the open side were behind after game 1 because they drew everyone, so open playing comp players, and then because they'd fucked that up, they then said, right, we'll now get all the comp players together and sort that out, and then they all started playing. Then they did the open draw as well, so you'd had the 20-minute delay between the comp draw and the open draw after the first round. So then they were always basically, right, we'll get the comp results in, we'll get the open results in, we'll do the comp draw, we'll do the open draw, and that was the same for every single round. So they were behind all day from the very start.
It feels like if you're gonna run 2 events, which is effectively what they tried to do, then you need 2 systems independent of each other. It didn't work having them combined. So this is not saying that you. So I absolutely don't think they should scrap the open event next year. But if they do keep the open event, they must run it separately. If they're going to try and do it together, they might as well not bother. I'd like to see them run both. I think that's a good way of doing it. I'd like to see them run both properly.
I'd like to see them run both as 2 separate events.
I think that's the easier way for them to do it.
But if you do
Yeah.
it side by side, have separate people in charge.
Well, just
Right.
get one done. Just do one properly first, and then you can think about doing open and comp at the same time.
So scores on the doors.
One.
Yeah, one.
No, that's a full stack of ones.
Let's be a bit more positive. Come on, atmosphere.
5. Well, 4.
Did you get the bar?
No. But the bar's always in venue. It's only a 4 from me because what kind of dragged the atmosphere down was that huge gap between game 1 and game 2.
Yeah.
Where everybody's going, what's going on? There's nothing like, when's the next game? They're just getting food out and we're like, hang on a minute, what's going on here?
There were a lot of disgruntled people and a lot of people that were stood around not knowing what the fuck was going on and moaning about it because no one was talking to us. So rather than just sitting there for 45 minutes, an hour between each game and having a chat with your mates and shooting the shit, it just became a giant, what the fuck are we doing? What's going on? I have no idea. Why won't anyone tell us? And that became the topic of conversation throughout the whole day.
You were united in your moaning.
It was a bit of a...
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
can only
whole
describe
lot.
it as a blitz spirit. It was like...
Yeah.
I can only imagine it. When you this is going back a day because I'm not a peasant anymore. When you stood at the bus stop and there's
Yeah.
like 20 of you and it's raining and
Bus
the,
won't go.
yeah.
and the bus drives past but it's full so it doesn't stop. And you're all allied in
Yeah.
your hatred of the bus driver. It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that was oh fucking it was it was almost funny at the end, the amount of just shit talking.
Yeah.
I mean
Well, the phrase of the day was, "Oh, for fuck's sake," wasn't it? After another
Yeah.
thing had gone wrong, it was just, "Oh, for fuck's sake." But
What was-
yeah, I agree.
What was Toph's word? It was diabolics. Cool.
diabolic so critical.
No, he didn't die. He tried debacle and bollocks. So it
That's
was,
right. Yeah, that's right.
I like
Diabolical.
Diabolical.
Diabolic cyclical because it kept going and going and going.
Did you see? Did you see any of the guys you saw at the World Championships?
Yes. Absolutely loved catching up with those guys. I've got plenty of time for them. We did actually say, because we were down at Warhammer World the next day, we said, look, we'll be there too to say hello if you want and carry on conversations, but loved it.
Yeah, it was really good to see those guys. I just feel really, really sorry for them that they paid all that money to come across for a 2-day event at Warlord HQ, and then a week before the event, everything went tits up, and they ended up coming for that diabolical 1-day shower shit. I feel really sorry for them because they paid all that money.
That's what you get for Brexit. But bye, foreigners.
Well,
Don't do that.
I'm joking.
well, the nice, they kind of had they had their moan about it. They had similar moans to us, but they also turned around and went, well, at least we got to see the display at Warhammer World. At least we got to be at Warhammer World. So it's a kind of...
but it said a lot, isn't it? That the highlight of these guys' weekend, they've come over to play Bolt Action at the Warlord GT, and the highlight was the other game system at the other place up the road.
Yeah. Go back to 40k wasn't an insult after that Saturday, I tell you.
That said, though, for all of the whinging, I did have fun that day because I chatted with a load of friends and met with a load of people I've not seen for months now. I played 4. The games themselves were really good. I enjoyed myself. It was everything that surrounded it that went wrong. Like there was no, especially on the competitive side, there was no whinging about lists. There was no, oh fuck you. You know what sometimes happens at these sort of events. There was none of that. It was just like at the WTC. Everyone knew what they was in for, and just went with it. Like my first game was against Robert. It was his second game of Bolt Action ever. And I was like, oh, mate, you all right? You know what I mean? He was just like, fucking bring it on, let's go. Because he'd gone out on the piss the night before and was hungover as fuck. And I was just like, it was just a really good attitude. It's just a shame that that was the highlight. It would have been nice if that was the cherry on top of an otherwise really good event.
Was this the first ever Bolt Action event with a female player?
No.
Oh, I couldn't work it out from the pictures whether it was just a quite slim dude with long hair or...
Toph's tit game is upped.
I tended to not really focus on the gender of the people in the room, so I don't. They could have been on the open side, I wouldn't know.
I never focus on gender. It's player's a player for me.
Come on, don't make this a point of being woke. I just thought it's a matter of interesting whether or not, like, we tend to make it a cliche that like games are full of like hot, sweaty nerds, all men.
I mean, there was
need
plenty of
deodorant.
tits there, but none of them were female.
Yeah. 3 of the tits that went are on this podcast.
Whee!
Whee.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think there were any women there, but I'd like to if I didn't look at the open side because they're beneath us.
Ooh, shots fired.
Right.
I was trying
I'm
to
giving
defend
out this
us.
for a 4.
I'm going to give a 4 as
No?
well. 4.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wasn't
4.
there. I abstained.
4. That's a 4. Right. Prizes. So, I think
Sorry.
for me, I have the exact same complaints this year that I did last year, which is if you came first, second, or third on the competitive side, yeah, the prizes were great. If you came anywhere else, it was absolutely nothing. And I just think that's so harsh, especially for the amount of time and effort people come in to get to these things, car trips, hotels, flights in some cases. And then, you came fourth. Oh, sorry, mate. Off you fuck.
Well, the Fubar prize is all right with order dice, but it just makes you look at it and go, well, I've got some random order dice now. It's of a random colour. Great.
Yeah, a single order dice is useless. Like, a d6 is fine, but a single order dice, well, this is my 1 unit. I'm playing a 2 dice list, so I can do it. It's just doesn't work, does it?
I think that was exactly the end little petty rant at the end of Ken's video review. Was he went, and they gave us a dice, and not even a dice you need. They should have given us a d6.
Yeah, everyone got 1 order dice for turning up, didn't they? That was it.
Yeah. So if you gave them all
usually
two
when
mates,
you go
that
to-
one guy would have loads.
Yeah, usually when you go to a GT of any kind of gaming system, really, usually you would get a little goodie bag, wouldn't you? Either a commemorative dice and then a little tiny figure or something, just something gimmicky to say, it's only £3 or £4 to Warlord to do all of these packs for each person, but it's a little thank you. But because of everything that had gone wrong, I just think they just said, fuck it. They'd have prizes for first, second, third, wackiest and best painted, and then that's it. Everyone else just buy stuff from the store that we brought, and that was it.
And get this, they had a team prize.
Yeah, which no one knew about.
Not
We
even
didn't
us.
know about it.
There's and then the team prize, and we're like, what the fuck? There's a team prize?
Yeah, and also the when we were talking to the Spanish guys as well, bearing in mind they're the WTC champions, the World Team Championship champions. They were told that when they came across, they couldn't be a team, so they weren't able to compete in the team event as a foursome.
They came up and when they registered, it was like, yeah, we're the Spanish team, and the guy went, oh, there's no teams.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, and the team prize goes to the Leicester Juggernauts, and we're like, what the fuck? And they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And
No,
it's just crazy.
I think everybody was like, what the fuck?
I mean, and here's another thing. This is a real pet peeve. But the way Colin's just like, no, I really don't want to give it to you guys. Oh, it's a team prize for the fucking Juggernauts. There you go. Yeah. And then it's all right. Then give us a prize you don't want to give us. And then we went to the shop the next day to cash it in. And then Simon's like, oh, you've just rinsed us of all these prizes you have. It's just like, well, don't give out prizes then. Don't give. Why are you giving a shit? It's like, here's a prize, but I'm gonna passively aggressively comment on you when you actually spend it. It's like, come on, what's that all about?
I think Simon was doing a good-natured ribbing. It's how he is,
It hits me in my delicate personal zone, Pete. It's not nice.
I just don't.
Yeah.
Is it because you need credit?
We've got fragile egos. We can't take it.
It's so fragile.
It's just, I think when it comes to prizes, like if you're going to do your big showcase event, then the thing you want to showcase is your products. And I think they should be giving away their stuff as prizes. Like, I find it so strange that the GT is the least well supported with Warlord product event.
Well, I'll
that they
just
run.
say, Warlord gave us more prizes for our event in September last year than they gave out at this event. And ours was a 40-man, a 28-man or something like that, tiny event in
Wasn't
Kermit.
that this year?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it should be like first place is one of the big box sets, like Battle of Stalingrad, Battle of Berlin, whatever they are, and then Army Box, and it should be the same for Open and Comp as well. Perhaps you disagree with this. I certainly think that it's right that that Comp gets the bigger trophies because that's where
There were no. The prizes were certificates for first, second, third, and you got the little tiny nipple trophies. They couldn't even be bothered to give out a big trophy this year.
What for the comp?
As someone who came second in comp, yes, they gave me a tiny silver trophy.
Well, then that does suck. But it's like they were saying that for Open, they got the trophies, but the first prize for Open didn't even get in prize money the cost of the ticket minus the £10. So like, it's completely bonkers.
Yeah, 75, I think it was for comp first place.
You ready for the thing that actually had Juggernaut Sparley raging?
Go on.
So it said that people who didn't pay for their tickets would not be getting the £10. Yeah, give it as anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciated that.
Yeah, I did.
Loved it. Thank you very much.
It's like, in a way, the £10 back is for the convenience of it rather than the financial outlay, really. So that's not me saying I disagree with Spurley. It would have annoyed me if I'd gone.
The £10 back was actually quite a clever marketing ploy, because it was, here's a £10 voucher, but you must use it either on the day or in store the day after.
It's not a
so
clever marketing ploy.
Buy some more of our shit to be able to use it.
Everyone saw through it for the cynical thing that it was. It's not really any different from just like it's pointless. It will have made no difference to them. Some people won't have even bothered to use it, I expect.
There were a few on the floor at the end that people just left there.
Yeah, it's the like I kind of get it. It's particularly annoying if you've gone on a free ticket to then gain an extra tenner, particularly for you because you got a prize voucher as well plus a tenner and you didn't pay. So like there are people who've gone.
And we got the team voucher as well.
So Ken, who went in the Open and came second in the exact same position as you, made a net loss, whereas you made a net gain of what, £70?
Well, we won the team voucher split between 5 of us. That's a tenner each. I got second place, which was £50 voucher, and then the £10 off. Yes, it's £70.
Yeah, so you got £70 for scoring in exactly the same place as somebody else who.
Yeah, but he was in the Open side.
Yeah, but the difference should not be £70 to nothing.
Oh no, I completely agree.
I think there should be a difference. I'm not saying that they should be the same. And
I mean, this is a GT. It should be the winner gets big ass trophy, free entry next year. Below that, you get big ass trophy and a handshake, and then everyone gets a blister pack.
Exactly. I'm completely in agreement. You should win product.
Yeah.
And you should.
I mean, even if you came second, you get to choose your blister pack first. If you came 56th, you get to choose your blister pack last, but everyone gets one.
Yeah.
And then it's like what? I think they're like £4 for some of the cheap ones, like a flamethrower set or a sniper and stuff. Just give them out. They cost you like a couple of pence each to get them.
50p even for just the cost of the money. It really is like silly. They should do like every time they release a new book, a new manual or supplement, they produce a special miniature.
Yeah.
Do a GT specific miniature and give one to everybody.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that's something they should do next week. I genuinely think next year. I genuinely think they like the prizes is a really simple thing to nail when the company is running its own event. Because like even Games Workshop, who are notoriously stingy about this, at least are consistent about it.
Yeah.
Can we get a miniature of Dan/Dave Lane as a US General, please?
Do you know what? If we get a trophy for not one step back in like a couple of years, or like a shield, the picture that's engraved on it should be a picture of all of us pissing on the GT trophy.
I think if you really want to piss people off, you need to do a GT standard box set of all Juggernauts in 28mm and just give it to people. They'll fucking hate that.
We could be like the alternative to the Home Guard models for the Dad's Army.
You'd need a bigger base for me.
So,
all your paint awards.
So what's that for prizes then? I'm giving it a 2.
I would give it a 2 as well.
Yeah, 2 sounds fair.
I'll give it a 2. Yeah, it's. I wish it'd be better. It's the one thing, one event on the calendar. I'm like, come on, just be good.
Oh, did you did you mention the other prizes? They also gave out a painting and a. Did they give a wacky or theme one as well?
Yeah, there's a
Three
themed,
or four wacky theme ones.
Yeah, there was a themed list and then a couple of wacky ones as well. But I have no idea what won the wacky lists.
One was a finish list in the Open, I think it was.
There were 2 finish lists in the Open.
It's like, here's a weird and wacky, you're playing Finns.
Yeah.
That's one final unrelated point before we go into the final scores, is that I obviously I didn't see it firsthand because I wasn't in the Open side, but there was some list complaints on the Open side. Like, I know you get in those sort of tournaments, you get, oh, your list is a bit hard, but I'm not entirely sure how thorough the vetting of the list was over on the Open side. Obviously on competitive it's fine because bring what you want as long as it sticks to the rules, be as hard as you want. But I think on the Open side, which was supposed to be a nice day, I think a couple of Juggernaut-esque folk may have snuck their way in.
It's difficult. It's
You
hard
mean part-timers in the Opens?
It's hard to pick up on exactly whether that's true or not. Certainly, like there's a couple of things that you look at and you go, "Oh, that's immediately a bit off." And like a Finnish army with lots of veteran infantry is one of them. So I was surprised to see Finns in the Open.
But then they're not massively overpowered,
No,
though.
exactly.
But we're getting a bit off topic here, so let's close out the prizes as an average score of 2, and then get the final score
I'll put that
once
bit
Toph's done his diabolical maths or demon-bolical, whatever he says.
Demon-bolical.
So the final score for the GT, hey,
Is it double figures?
yes,
I'll be disappointed
it
if
is.
it is.
It's 15.5 out of 30.
Ugh.
Oh, it's over half.
For a glorified campaign day, that's...
Sorry, did I say out of 30? That's out of 35.
All right, okay.
So
That's quite a low score then.
it's the lowest score we've ever handed out by far. Yeah, that's the end of the Salt Fest. That's turned Dan off. Boop, 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 boop.
All right, guys, let's carry on.
We did receive some comments about how we spend too much time moaning and talking
We
about
did.
tournaments and not going into the games. So we're going to do some Capture Crunch Data Munch, and we're going to talk about the games we played. Sorry, Chef, you just have to sit and listen, I'm afraid.
That's right.
Or ask pertinent questions, whichever.
Yeah, because we still haven't got the actual results. I have no idea where I came, so I can't say, oh, I came 5th, I came 7th. No idea. But now you know, when we talk about our games, that's the backdrop of what was going on during and between the rounds.
So, is it only Dan that knows where he comes then? Because he podiumed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He always comes
Only the top 3.
Podium!
Yeah.
Yeah, only the top 3 knew where they actually came, because there was no wooden spoon, I don't think, either.
Right, come on, let's save it for Captain Crunch Data Munch.
So, welcome to the next section, which is Captain Crunch's Data Munch, the worst titled section of any podcast.
How dare you?
Do you want me to read? Hey, I offered to change it to Henry Hoover Model Remover.
It's like, would you rather be punched in the face or kicked in the balls? It really is that sort of character.
I mean, if I'm going to choose between face and balls, you can punch me.
It's true. So anyway, we're going to talk about the data of the GT. We're going to talk about some of the breakdowns of where the lists were, what factions they were. But we're going to start this section with the caveat that actually at this point we're recording, we are now a little bit over 1 week on from the GT. We still don't actually have a full list of scores. So we don't know where people came. The only person we know for certain is Dan. So we've got some information from Russell, who posted in the Bolt Action Facebook group. I'm just going to run that through. So in total, there were 92 submitted lists and 86 people played on the day. So some of the lists didn't appear. And I'll just go through the numbers. So for British, there were 28 British lists, of which 17, so about 2/3, were in the comp event. There were 19 German lists, of which 10, so half, were in the comp event. There were 18 Russian lists, 13 were in the comp event, so that's about 2/3. With the USA, it was half. There were 8 lists, 4 were in the comp event. There were 7 Japanese lists, so 3 were in comp. So actually the majority of Japanese lists were in open, which surprised us somewhat. But then even more surprising than that, there were 4 Finnish players. Only one of them was in the comp event. So 3 people took Finns to the open event. There were 4 French players. All 4 French people played comp. There were 2 partisan players. They both played comp. There was 1 Chinese player. Do we know if that was nationalist or communist?
It
Not
certainly
true.
wasn't flipping
Worst
sparrow
Sparrow
tactics.
Tactics, I think.
So they were the nationalists then. I think that's the way. I can always get it the wrong way around. And there was one of them, and he played in comp. And there was 1 Italian player. Shout out to you, whoever you were, who brought out Italians to comp.
What a legend.
Good on you. So that means that of all of the lists, there were 35 theatre-specific lists. There were 22 tank lists, and there were 35 generic infantry lists. So that broke down to, for theatre selectors, 35 of them 22 of those 35 were in comp. Of the tank lists, 17 of 22, which is 3/4.
No surprise.
Were in comp. None of us are surprised by this. In fact, I'm surprised it wasn't more, if I'm honest. And generic, so people who took generic, roughly 50-50. So they indecisive. 17 were in comp. So in general, it was quite interesting. We have got a couple of specific things. I'll run through these quite quickly because I realise I'm talking a lot. The first is that we were really keen to think how many of the British lists were going to be British Armoured Indians. We talked about this in the last podcast. But actually, we know specifically, of the British lists, of which there were 28, 12 of them were tank lists, and 9 of them were generic lists. The most common theatres that were seen were Market Garden. Then actually theatres were pretty well spread, Russell seems to think. So Normandy era seems to be the most common, and there were loads of paras, lots of commandos, but then we kind of expected that to happen. There were Indian British lists, as you'd expect, a couple of South Africa. There were some South African paratroopers at Arnhem, apparently, which is quite funny. Russia had...
Spurley.
Yeah, was it? Of course it was, yeah. Hello, Spurley. Russia had 6 tank lists of 18. So actually, the minority of Soviet lists were tank lists, but then we knew that would be the case because you don't need tank lists when you're Soviets because you get all the toys anyway. Of the Soviets, there were 3 Silo Heights and 3 Stalingrad lists. So actually, armoured and theatre is well over half of the Russian lists. All 7 Japanese lists were theatre lists. That's
because that's not expected. The Japanese theatres are great.
So really, there's nothing in that that's hugely unexpected as far as we're concerned. We probably thought a few of them would be higher. I genuinely would have said that for comp British, there would be more British Indian armoured, and I'm surprised that there isn't. But actually, 12 armoured lists of 28. There probably a lot more of them were in comp. Generally speaking, what do other people think?
Of the British armoured Indians, though, all of them except for Tovs were Stuart spam. Every single one of them.
No, one of them wasn't a Stuart spam. It was using a double machine gun armoured car until he hit 1,000. I played him first round.
Oh dear.
It's still machine guns.
So,
yeah. The one I was shocked about was the Finns in comp.
Yeah.
So the one person that took Finns in comp was Manuel, and he took 5 BA-10s as his armoured cars, his platoon at 750, with like 2 5-man continuation war squads.
Armoured Finns.
Yeah.
It's great.
I think this just kind of reinforces that if you only allow people to have 1 platoon, they're just going to take the best one of whatever it is they can take, which is normally a theatre selector if you're like Japanese or Soviets, or an armoured selector if your particular theatre selectors are shite. So it's kind of like it reflects in the list you receive by how your pack is, if that makes sense. You'd see more generic lists if you allowed people to take 2 platoons, but because they only said 1, well, might as well take an armed platoon.
Well, it's easy to tell just by the numbers, because if you think about, you've got the 92 submitted lists, and it goes nearly 30 for British, nearly 20 for German, nearly 20 for Russian, and then it nosedives off a cliff down to 8 for Americans, and Americans are usually one of the most popular lists there are, but because you've got this limitation of 1 platoon, everyone's just jumped on the British, German and Russian bandwagon.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's as many on the German bandwagon, actually, because I would say they're like the USA.
Most of the Germans were tank and theatre, so you can take all your doubles and tanks and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, generally speaking, it is definitely British and Russian that benefit from the single way more than everybody else. I'm surprised.
I mean, I saw a few Facebook comments after the fact of people whinging about lists, which I didn't hear anyone from the day, so I think it may just be the usual, oh, come here, man, fuck you. But whatever. But, like, and there's some people, they should just make it one generic reinforced platoon only. And I'm just like, do you want to kill the game? That's how you kill the game.
If you do that, it doesn't stop anything, though, does it? Because it drives the numbers even further towards the British and Russians.
It just makes the Japanese the Russians, and specific Brits even better. Yeah.
It makes the things that can get free stuff or have the best national special rules just dominant. So yes, exactly, Japanese and Russians. The statistic that I really want to know is I want to know of the British how many of them had naval artillery observers.
There were loads. Yeah. I think I might have been the only British list from what I heard from people talking that didn't have a naval observer. I didn't know anyone who took Brits who didn't have one other than me.
I'd also like to know how many multi-launchers were represented. So of the 92 submitted lists, how many had a multi-launcher?
Well, on your British naval observer thing, I played 2 British lists, both of which had naval observers, and I played the illegal Polish list, which also had a free British naval observer.
Do you think that there is a place in open for it? Do you think it's too powerful for open?
I'm thinking it's borderline too powerful. Full stop. Really, like unless you're taking enough snipers to warrant them useless. They're really good, like, because you've got a third of a chance of basically pinning units out of the game. Because even a 5 gives them, and it's also
pins. The 5 on tanks will also flip the tank potentially, and that's like, well, no, you didn't really hit it, but you're still flipping it and destroying.
Yeah, this is what Ken said. So Ken has done an in-depth video review on his YouTube channel, and actually he had a naval observer. He also had native irregulars in his army in open.
So fluffy.
No, I'm not criticising it for being an unfluffy list, but
it's Burma platoon, then fine.
No, but what he did with it, I think it was Home Guard. I think it had Home Guard in it as well. That might be a mistake. But basically, the thing he was saying is actually it was the naval observer. He tries to play it down, I think, but it's the naval observer that won him the games, not through killing stuff, but just through mad amounts of pins. He was basically pinning an army in place by just doling them out, and I think it's its ability to do that over such a wide area that does make it ridiculous.
The naval observer, for people that haven't played it before, is the free British artillery observer, and you pay 50 points to upgrade it. He increases his blast radius to D6 plus 9 rather than D6 plus 6. And then he does all of the normal stuff an artillery observer do. So if you roll 1 through 4, he dishes out pins like they're going out of fashion. If you hit on a 6, it's a heavy howitzer, which does D6 plus 2 pins.
It's also a plus 6 hit, I think, rather than a plus 4. So it's the same as being hit with like a heavy tank shell.
Yeah, and then if you roll a 5, you get hit with a 2-inch blast, I think it is, and you suffer D6 pins. And if you're a tank on the roll of a 5, like Pete said, you get flipped over and you're destroyed. So it's not an upgrade. It's just an artillery observer on crack. It's just so much better. It's unreal.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see how many people capitalised on it. It wouldn't surprise me if, of the 3 observers, the majority of them were upgraded.
I played 3 out of 4 lists with naval observers that were for free.
Yeah,
well, for 50 points.
It's a bit too good. I think that there's a few people in the open that seem to take that as well. And while the rest of the lists might not, actually, to be fair to the open side, not many people seem to have flamethrowers, which is the usual cheese unit. There weren't many engineers and flamethrowers.
I heard of an event in America a few weekends ago where the guy took 3 of them, 3 naval observers, and just annihilated every opponent he came up across. Because basically, turn 1 you roll on, and then turn 2 your army's destroyed. Because if the first one doesn't hit you, the second one does. And then the third one will just capitalise. So if you get hit by 2 in one turn, you can. So I'm keeping an eye on it because I'm thinking in terms of the tournaments we run, do I really want someone to come to not one step back, bring in 2 or 3 of them? Not really. But then it's a hard one because a sniper is a really obvious counter. but how many snipers do you need to warrant them to not be worth taking? It's a really
I
weird
would say
one.
snipers first are usually 0 to 1, and second are not free.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Is that actually I don't mind the naval observer as much if it was just an expensive observer that you couldn't take for nothing. I think you can have your free observer, but if you want your naval one, you can pay 160 points for him. On top of that, or whatever.
Yeah, being able to upgrade the free one for 50 points to get this supercharged version is just it's just not balanced.
It's insane.
Yeah.
There's an argument for it in certain selectors. Like, I reckon if you're playing a beach assault, or you're playing around like the D-Day and Overlord things, yeah, fine.
Or
But,
anywhere in the Pacific where the other US, you should be able to get them.
Yeah.
I think it's a watch this space, because I think they're going to get really common in competitive events now. Because I know I didn't take one, but going forward, if you're building the reason I didn't take one is because of the stupid escalation format, and I couldn't fit it in 750, which meant I basically can't have one. But there's no reason otherwise to not take one.
Was there anything obvious missing? So a couple of the minor powers are missing. So that there were no Romanians or Hungarians, for example. But are there any other obvious ones that sort of... Like, there's no Belgian player?
Why would there be?
Well, no, I'm
GT.
just saying... Was there anything that... But even open, is there anything that you would have expected to see that just simply wasn't there?
I was very surprised that I didn't see an anti-tank gun platoon. With the amount of tank platoons that were taken, I thought at least one person would have brought the 5 Flak 88s or the 5 ZIS2s, ZIS3s, and just gone, fucking line up in front of me then, you dickhead.
Yeah.
See how
The
you
hard
take it.
counter.
I would say the opposite, and see, I've never seen so many paratrooper lists in my life.
They're getting really popular at tournaments right now.
Well, the stubborn rule is so good, and every single one of my games was against the German Fallschirmjäger list. I didn't play any other army all day except German Fallschirmjäger lists.
Oh, did you come across any of the newer Fallschirmjägers from the more recent books where they're a little cheaper?
They had some
The green
Fallschirmjägers, they had some veteran Fallschirmjägers, there was lots of Fallschirmjäger. All I know is they were all bloody vet by the end of the game. They all had stubborn, they all had Panzerfaust, and I played the same game 4 times. And looking around, there was also, you could have British paratroopers and American paratroopers and Russian paratroopers.
I mean, there's some good news. I mean, there's no Japanese paratroopers don't get it, but they don't need it.
Yeah, just don't. That was a brilliant segue into exactly how did your games go. So we'll start with Pete, because you said the least then. What were your 4 games? What did you face? What was the score?
Game 1 was with one of the Spanish team, Kevin.
Kevin.
No, it's a very good game. We know each other from the WTC. It was good fun, especially more relaxing knowing that the person opposite me knows the rules inside and out. He had what I would label as a British Indian machine gun spam. Stayed away from the Stuarts at 750 though, and we played Heartbreak Ridge, which is it's all right, but you had to read the mission properly. I ended up winning that, which was quite nice. Round 2. It took so long to get to round 2. I played a really weird game. It was up against the British Armoured list again, no surprise. With a free Indian squad, yep, no surprise. And I won it on kill points through 2 lucky things, so I'm not really too enamoured about that. Game 3, I come up against the mission I hate the most in point defence, because somebody's always going to win, and if you defend, you win anyway. Up against a regular Japanese list, like everything was regular. I had to be that guy at one point because he had a heavy howitzer and tried moving onto the board, which you can't do because you're too heavy, you've got no tow. So after being that guy, I turned around and went, all right, call it a medium, you can bring it on. So that I lost that one because it's point defence, and that mission, was a hard counter for my army. I can't get across the board. Oh well. And then the last one I played was the top secret, which is effectively capture the hill thanks to the mission changes against, I might get this wrong, Gorka from Spain. He had a Russian list that basically bundled on the objective and prayed, and he won it.
So you were what? Win, loss, loss.
2 wins,
win.
2 losses.
Yeah. Dan, what did you get?
Yeah, so first game I was against British Indian Stuart Spam, playing point defence, and I was attacking. For some inexplicable reason, he deployed his whole army rather than leaving his Stuarts in reserve. So I attacked the right-hand objective because there was a nice big plaza in the middle of it where I could bundle all of my paratroopers at it, and I had to kill 2 units and then just block off one alley that was leading into the plaza with a jeep, so his Stuart couldn't drive down there and kill me. So that was a nice easy win. Second game was against Spurley with his South African paratroopers. We were playing kill points.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, I took an early lead in this. I was 3-1 up at turn 2, and then we just traded a kill point each for the next 2 turns, so it ended up as 5-3. But he had nothing left to counteract me in the end, and I just walked away from him for the last turn, so he couldn't get near me. Unfortunate bit in this game, my stubborn paratroopers with 1 pin on them foobarred and ran away off the secondary objective, which ended up costing me the tournament. Because I had 4 wins and 2 secondaries at the end of the tournament, and that would have been 4 wins and 3, which would have put me first. So
no,
that's unlucky.
Watching that foobar was a highlight of my tournament.
There was a member of the either the Spanish or German team who allegedly has 4 wins, 4 secondaries. Yeah,
he had 4 wins and 4 secondaries, but as we said earlier, he was recorded as having 2 wins and 2 losses, and because there was
is that him?
Yeah, because there was no score sheet, he's got no way of proving it, so they just went, sucks to be you, mate, but there you go. So game 3, I was against...
Just a joke, sorry.
Yeah, game 3, I was against the illegal Polish list, which is the... it's one of the downloadable PDFs, which is you get a free British artillery observer, you can upgrade him to the naval observer. If you take Stuarts or if you take Shermans or Cromwells, I think it is, something like that, all of your machine guns, all of your tanks get +1 to hit, even with machine guns and big guns, which is horrendous.
That's amazing.
But he was a 9 dice list at 1,000 points, and we were playing double envelopment, and I had 16 dice.
Was there a road?
No, but he abandoned one flank, so I just drove everything up in jeeps and just got everything off in like 3 turns. So first dice of turn 2, I was 9-1 up because he'd killed a unit and I got 3 units off in 1 jeep. So he couldn't win from that point onwards. So it was just a case of going through the motions. And then final game 4, I played a German Flampanzer Spam that I'd also played at the WTC and beat. Again, I was playing point defense, and this is the guy that I told him I'm attacking a certain objective. He then played it to point defense as per the rulebook. I threw all of my army at one objective on the right-hand flank to bring his entire army across to try and counteract me. He killed almost everything on that right-hand flank, but he completely abandoned the left, where I brought 2 machine gun jeeps and 1 officer. I run them 12 inches on, stood on the objective, and won because he had nothing near it. And I didn't get the secondary in that one because the secondary was near the right-hand objective, and when you're playing 4 flamethrower tanks with 2 flamethrowers each, it's not going to go well for you when you've got 6-man squads. So my entire army, apart from the 2 jeeps, the officer, and 1 howitzer, was completely and utterly destroyed.
Yep.
His flamethrowers didn't miss once in that game.
Quick aside, though, you can only fire 1 vehicle flamethrower at a time if you have 2.
Yes.
If you run out of ammunition, do you run out of ammo with both?
No, because they're 2 separate weapons. So you have a flamethrower covering the front and left, and then a flamethrower covering the front and right. If you run out of fuel with one, you've still got the second one to go with. Yeah. I had exactly the same inquiry as well when we were playing, because like the first shot, he hit on a 5, killed 5 out of a 6-man squad, and then rolled a 1. I was like, "Yay, that tank's useless now." He said, "No, they're 2 separate weapons. I still have the right one."
I mean,
like, oh,
there's nothing better than someone having to abandon a flamethrower they've never shot.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, 4 wins, 2 secondaries, quite a good day overall. But not claiming the secondary objective game 2 against Spurley, or having the debacle with the mismatch scoring after games 1 and 2, which put me against someone that had a win and a loss rather than 2 wins for the strength of schedule, screwed me over for the event.
I think to give the guy a shout, his name is something like Joseba.
Joseba, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it was right. Which brings us to a Toffer. I don't know what accent that was meant to be. It certainly wasn't Spanish or Mexican. Go on, Toph. What was your game?
So, this is why it's really hard to do these, because my first game was against Robert, as I mentioned, which was his second ever game of bolt action, and he was hungover.
Ballsy motherfucker.
Yeah. He was playing a, guess what, Fallschirmjäger list. So he has about 10 dice at, was it? No, 750 points. It must have been about 8 dice or so. And he had loads of veteran guys with loads of Panzerfaust against my tank platoon, which sounds like he would have had an easy time playing kill points, except the table had no terrain on it, really. So I just lined up my tanks and then went...
Sucks to be you then, mate.
Yeah, come at me then. So he did. To his credit, he just ran at me, and I just went, well, there you go, that truck's dead. The guys inside are dead, and then I shot them all to shit at the end. And then I was 3 or 4 dice up, and there was no real way his guns were going to get anywhere near me. I made sure to hunt down his anti-tank assets first, get rid of them, and then I just kind of did what I want. So the game very quickly turned into a scrap over the secondary, which I lost because the secondary didn't turn up till halfway through the game because they hadn't put one down, and halfway through the
fucking hell,
one of the GT guys just walked over and went, "That's your secondary now," and I was like, "Oh shit!" So I had to reroute all my infantry to go and fight it, but so
wasn't that the game as well where you had it was a draw because it was against Spanish Dan, wasn't it?
No,
and,
that's the next game.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
okay.
So that was the first game. So Robert is actually a listener of ours. His first priority to get into Bartsham was listening to us, obviously, and now he's never going to listen to us ever again because I beat him. Sorry, mate.
Sound like he was having a good time. Was he the one who was hungover?
Yeah, I don't have much to really say, really. What's your tax, Tev? Give me some tactical insights, mate. I just lined my tanks up and shot. There's not much.
Well, the tactical insight for this one is you had a very clear plan. As a tank platoon, you kill the anti-tank assets. As soon as you've got rid of them, you've got free reign of the board and you can do whatever the fuck you want all game.
And just making sure my tanks were in a position where he couldn't get to me without at least exposing himself for one turn. Because there's like some houses and then like a big 2-foot open area and then like a hill. And I just put myself on the hill and went, well, go into the open area then. Went into the open area, shot into shit. So that was game 1. Game 2 was one of the hardest fucking games of bolt action I've ever had in my life. Jesus. What's his name? Dan, you'll be better. Is it Achille?
Aquila, yeah.
Aquila, yeah.
Yeah. So he's what we affectionately call Spanish Dan. So he's a member of the Spanish team for WTC, and he wins all the tournaments over there in the same way that Dave Lane wins all the tournaments over here. So it was me versus him, and we was playing kill points again. And guess what? I was against the German Fallschirmjäger list with loads of Panzerfaust. There was a lot more terrain this time, though. It was a proper cagey game. I think after about 4 turns, we'd only lost like maybe 2-3 dice each because we both really knew what we was doing. Neither of us were going to, let our units go because he was like, "I can't get to you without dying, so I'm just going to go down to this wall." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to advance you to hit you on anything on 7s because you're just going to jump out of a Panzerfaust." So it was kind of a very standoffish game. So we got up to turn 6, and then it was going to be a draw with me on the secondary, and then with Pete behind me and Dan behind me, we rolled off for another turn, and we got another turn, and then he proceeded to take 4 dice off me and win the fucking game.
Yeah, it was painful watching that turn 7. It was, I need a 6 to hit. 6. I need a 6 to wound. 6. I need a 6 to fucking kill you. 23.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, it was a really hard game, and then you just kind of like, I'm happy with a draw out of this because it was really hard. I think to get the win out of him, and I'd have had to make some real gambles, which I wasn't necessarily like happy to do because I would have had to put my tanks in very precarious situations where if he'd then got the dice, my tanks would have died. But No.
Yeah.
But-
Well, when I played him at the WTC, our game was a lot like yours. It was very cagey, and it was envelopment, so he had to get his stuff into my deployment zone. And I only won it because there was 1 point difference between us, and at the very last dice of turn 6, a machine gun on a Dodge truck hit a lone soldier behind heavy cover on 7s as a veteran and sniped him off, and that stopped him being in my deployment zone to get him back up and got me the 1 point for the kill to push me 2 points ahead. But and it was the stressiest game I've ever had.
I mean, my one thing to learn from that is don't leave yourself in a position where if you lose the next turn dice off, you then lose the game.
So,
Like, I should have been more secure in my position.
game 3?
Yeah, game 3. So I was playing Carlos, I think, from the Spanish team, and this is another one. I was playing a German Fallschirmjägerlist with a load of Panzerfaust, and it was envelopment, and I was attacking as a British armoured platoon. So my preparatory bombardment came in, chucked 2 pins and everything, and then I just drove off the board at the end.
Oh, wow.
Like Carlos took some pictures, and he might have put them on the publishing group right now because they're pretty funny. And I just literally got all of my entire army and put it in like maybe a 12-inch box, and just every turn run, and just got off the board. End of turn 2, I had about 6 units off the board between all the transports and the units inside. So at that point, the only things left were my tanks, and I just kind of slowly edged towards the board edge and just killed shit as I went. It was really not. It wasn't a proper game. And that was entirely because we were playing envelopment. Carlos,
Silver lining,
you know.
at least it wasn't game 1, so you finish the game in 10 minutes and then have to wait for 4 hours.
Well, it feels like it, doesn't it? But it's stupid though, because Carlos, you know, is blatantly, he knew what he was doing. He was a good player. He flew all the way bloody from Spain to play bolt action, but because of just the specific list I was playing and the specific mission, he had no chance. If we'd playing any other mission with the amount of Panzerfaust not he had, he'd have been fine. But you know, bullshit.
Rock, paper, scissors, isn't it? Look at the draw.
So, well, win, loss, win. What happened next?
My last game, I played our friend of the cast and listener, Nick Ellis, who you may know as Skeltar Fawn, I think he's called on Facebook.
Yeah, that is right.
Yeah.
He gave me a right cagey game at Cambridge last year.
Yeah,
We played identical DAC lists against each other.
I was just going to say, was that when you played? Was it 6 Panzer IVs on the board or something?
No, it was Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs. So yes, basically we both had identical lists, and we spent 5 of 7 turns, just 1 kill point each. And I think the game ended 2 kill points to 1 kill point. That was how low it was when we finished after 7 turns.
So I was playing another German Fallschirmjägerlist, yay, and was playing Hold Until Relieved. And at this point, we both know, even though we both had 1 win, 2 wins, 1 loss, because it was only 1 day rather than 2, we knew that there was no way you would ever claw our way back to the podium. If there was a game 2, if there was a day 2 and you had another 3 games to go, maybe you could have clawed your way back up. So it was like, we're not going to play, let's just piss about. So we had one of the most fun games ever where we just got fucking petty with each other, and I managed to nuke off the table a Flak 88, which I was really happy about. Because my two little mortar carriers just drove on and went, fuck you!
Nick's is the board that's made out of individual bricks, isn't it?
Yeah, his army looks a lot better than mine. And all I did is I just parked all of my tanks on the objective and just went, there you go. You can't go over an inch of my tank. My tanks are at least, 6 inches long, 3 inches wide. You physically can't get onto the board. And if you kill me, it's impassable terrain. So, roadblock. I had a bit of shaky luck, both of us. We had a couple of, flamethrowers rolling 1s to hit, and Panzerschrecks rolling 2s to hit when they needed 3s, and all of that rubbish. But we had a really fun game. I had a lot of fun, and I fucking hate paratroopers. Stubborn little cunts. Just don't fuck off.
So to be clear then, and bring the data munch to an end, Dan's 4 wins. So then Toph is 2 wins, a loss, and a draw, and Pete is 2 wins and 2 losses.
Oh no, I won that last game. Sorry, it's 3 wins.
He
And 1
had an objective with infantry around it and then tanks around it.
Sorry, yeah. So it was definitely Dan, Toph, Pete as the order of us in here. So where do you think you came, Toph, roughly? Where would you reckon? So there's 50 players. Dan's second. Where do you reckon?
Well, the thing is I didn't really get many. I only got 1 secondary all day because you needed the infantry to catch secondary, and as an armour platoon, infantry was in short supply. But every single person I spoke to gave me a different answer as to how much the secondary was worth. Some people, apparently it was supposed to be like, if a win was 5 points, the secondary was 1 point. But then other people were saying a win's worth 3 points, so then it's only worth 1 point. Then other people were saying, oh, but it's only the win that counts. The secondary only separates out equal scores. So I could be anywhere between maybe 20th and 5th. It just depends on how they did the points, and I don't fucking know.
Do you feel like your performance on the day deserves that? Would you be annoyed if you were like,
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit at this point. I couldn't care. I honestly couldn't care less because it's a one day. It didn't mean anything. It's not really a proper GT. I'm really sorry, but if you won this GT, you'd officially be known as you won the shit GT. I'm sorry, but that's just the case.
What about you, Pete?
Me, I'm gonna quite happily bask in mid-table mediocrity. Could I have done better? Yes, but after I lost the third game, I played the game for fun.
Yeah.
Podium was out of reach because I could see all the guys over from Europe doing quite well on some of the boards. So I went, you know what, I'll play a really fun game.
So the last question for all three of you, which should hopefully have a pretty brief answer, is having seen a lot of the lists on that day and seen how the performance of all the different stuff had gone, and it still being a relatively small tournament at 50, how were you feeling your chances if there had been another day with 3 games?
See, with another game, I'd have played round, so I might have got a result out of there, and then I'm thinking second day, I've got to push for the result now. I've got some chances, but with one day, what's the point?
The way I feel, because it was only one day and there was like 80 people or something, it meant that the top 5 places would all be on full wins. Because of the way the Swiss goes, which means the things that will separate them will be really minor things like a secondary here, a secondary there. So the moment that I lost to Achille, I was like, well, I'm out, done, tap out. I'm not going to win this. Whereas if you spread that over 6 days, if you get 5 wins and 1 loss over 6 games, that's enough to come third, maybe even second, depending how it falls. So
yeah,
the way I was going, if we'd had another 2 games, I reckon I could have come maybe third, because I reckon it's too hard to predict. It depends on missions, it depends on tables, it depends on matchups, but I reckon I could have done well.
Cool, and that brings the munch to an end.
Nom 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 nom.
I guess my opinion don't mean anything then for that bit.
No, because what are you going to say? Oh, I should have been first.
Would have kept winning.
Probably got first for the second day.
Yeah, basically it would have been, I already played the German Flampanzer spamming a mission that I could beat it at, so there was nothing left to worry me off. I was pretty confident I could have done it.
Right, now can we nom 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 away?
Nom nom away.
Nom nom nom.
I'm a nom a nom a nom a nom.
Okay, guys, we're moving on to our penultimate section now. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
So, this is our feedback and questions. The first thing we wanted to do is just give you guys a reminder of how to get in contact with us. The easiest and the best way to contact us, because you actually get a response within 3 weeks of you sending your message, is to hit us up on Facebook. You can find all 4 of us on there individually. We'll have liked and shared and commented on a bunch of Bolt Action posts. I'm sure you'll be able to find us pretty easily. Or if you just search for Juggernaut Bolt Action Podcast on Facebook, you can send us a message through there as well.
I will say, message the podcast page. Don't message our personal ones. That's not because I don't want you to message my personal, but because if you message my personal, it goes into if you're not my friend on Facebook, it goes into the filter, and then I don't see it until 3 weeks later. And
alternatively,
a bit late.
Alternatively, if you want to contact us, get your gaming board out, arrange 5 naval observers in a pentagram shape, and then roll a double 1, and just hope will just appear.
I mean, we between us, we must have at least 6 shits a day. So that's 6 times we'll be checking the Facebook page.
If I'm at work, yes, I'll be having 6 shits a day because boss pays $1, I get a dime. I'm going to shit on company time.
Lay some cable.
Yeah. The last method as well, obviously, is you can email us at juggernautwargaming@gmail.com. It's in any of the event packs or anything that you may have seen, or I think it might even be on the Facebook page as well. But the best way, like we said, is get in contact on Facebook.
Unless you're going to have a 1,000-word essay, then fucking email that shit. I ain't reading that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Then send it to Sheffield at Kirby Muxloe Free Church.
The other advantage of using the Juggernaut podcast page to get in contact is that we can all see that, so we can all comment on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see the email.
I mean,
Well, yeah,
you do
but
have the login for it.
No, I mean, you never know. It's potluck who you get to speak to.
Yeah, it's a lot quicker for us to react on Facebook because we can just take 5 minutes away from our desks at work and just answer you if we find the question pertinent.
Yeah, and Pete and Toph usually sign off with their name. Sheffy usually does as well. So if you get a response that doesn't have anyone's name at the end of it, it's most likely me because I'm far too lazy to type the extra 3 letters at the end of the sentence. So
I was going to say, you have the shortest name.
I know.
Dave.
Dave, yeah. Right, so...
Right, let's go on to some feedback. So the first thing we're going to do is Ben Gardner and Akhtar, and I think a couple of others.
What was that?
It was.
I have no idea.
Jesus Christ. Is that what...
Anyway.
is that
Sorry.
how they talk in Tasmania? Like a bird?
No, I think they sort of do that. Sort of, isn't that the Tasmanian devil noise?
Yeah.
Also, the guy from Police Academy.
Oh, hey, look, we just lost like 15 viewers from Tasmania.
Basically,
That's the entire population, mate.
Basically, I got quite a lot of feedback because we missed out the M30 rocket battery from our Soviet review last episode. And hands up, Topher's fault because skipped over that bit. And I just decided to
What is that?
We weren't doing units that weren't in the book, though, were we?
Yeah, well, you did the heavy Katusha. It's literally on the next page.
Yeah.
What
is it?
I got confused because if you remember, I was like, "Isn't the heavy Katusha an artillery piece?" And you was like, "No, it's a vehicle." Because I merged them in my head into one. It turns out there is a stationary gun version of the heavy Katusha. And the good thing about
it do the same thing?
It does the exact same thing for 60 points, except for a regular one with like 5 crew. But you can buy it at Spotter for 10 points. It's the only multi-launcher in the game you can buy a Spotter.
It's a disgrace.
But you can't use it.
Not be allowed. It's bonk.
Tell Luke. Nobody tell Juggernaut Luke. He will go and buy 5 of the fuckers. Just keep quiet. Everyone.
What?
Listeners,
but you can't
keep
use
quiet.
it, can you?
Of course you can.
Oh, my head.
High is just like a heavy mortar.
Can we not?
Yeah,
Can we not?
You buy 5. You buy 4 of them. Put them behind, like, I don't know, a tree. And then take a major. Snap them. And then annihilate someone's entire army on the first turn.
Wow.
Completely plausible with the Jugger Selector.
No, with Jugger Selector, I think you can only take 2. Yeah,
that's not
so
good.
we'd like to limit that. So I'm sorry, guys. The Juggernauts have let you down because we forgot to tell you all of the filth that the Soviets can take.
Well, I think
so
what
the
we've done
5% of filth,
Yeah, we've all looked at it. We've all looked at the M30, and just none of us have registered the spotter option because that's what it is for me. I was like, oh yeah, you can take a non-mounted version of it, but I just not noticed the spotter before. It's amazing.
Would you prefer a spotter or the ability to move and fire like a Katusha?
Oh no, spotter, undoubtedly, because multi-launchers are the best thing to take inexperienced. And there's nothing that says you need to be regular to take the spotter on that.
Yeah, but
You
then
do,
can't
because
use
you can't spot with an inexperienced
Oh,
spotter.
that's true. But the point is that you can still... It's the incentive of having a weak and rubbish unit. You can then hide it away.
Actually,
It's
no,
just
no. If you take a Katusha one, you can fire it 3 times between turn 1 and turn 6. If you take the stationary one, you can only fire it twice. Because you have to spend the first turn moving it on.
That's very
So
true.
you get turn 2 and then turn 4. Whereas if you took the Katusha, or you get 2, 4, and then 6. Whereas otherwise you get 1, 3, 5, and then potentially 7. Yeah. So if you did the Katusha, if you managed to stay alive, you technically got more chance of firing. But obviously, if you take the spotter, then you are a lot easier to actually stay alive.
One thing I would say though is with the Katusha vehicle versions, you've got to put yourself in line of sight. So, and you're only a 6+, and with the other version for the M30, who the fuck shoots a spotter?
I don't know if it's a spotter for a fucking heavy howitzer multi-launcher. I might start doing it.
Yeah. That was going to be my point. And by the way, last week called, they want their podcast about Katusha's back.
Okay. Oh, next bit. Spanish Kevin. Speaking to him in person. Kevin. He likes our Trump jokes because it's nice to know that we're not as crazy as the US is right now. And we understand political satire when it's required.
Sick burn.
So I'd like to say that Juggernaut is the best podcast. I know podcasts, and Juggernaut is the best podcast of podcasting. I know podcasts, and the Juggernauts are there. The Juggernauts are great. Just great guys. What
I would like to say about this podcast is we will get podcasting done. We will do it.
Oh, fuck's sake.
What?
Well, I couldn't possibly comment on any of the things you're saying at all.
And we do have Sheffield to do Nigel Farage. That's just his normal voice. It's great.
This is where Sheffy just chimes out with Achtung!
Schnell!
Just while we're on this segue of Boris Johnson, I want to get it out there. For those listening, let's compare Boris Johnson to Big Boss NASA from The Phantom Menace. Just every time he finishes a sentence, we will get Brexit done.
Yeah, like Richard Nixon from Futurama.
Yeah.
Yes.
Richard was Fabius.
I have never told a lie. Even I don't know how many kids I've had.
Yeah, we had quite a few people from the GT. Oh yeah, the last one was pretty good. It was good.
Yeah, we had a lot more positive reviews this year than we did last year. Where last year everyone was giving us the dodgy eye, like, you're a new podcast and you're a bunch of cunts. Ugh. And this year it's like, yay, it's the Juggernauts, yay! I'm like, yay, we're finally gaining
Because we're the only
acceptance.
podcast left.
Yeah, we are the only. It's because we murdered them.
Yeah, that's true.
I currently
Swift
have
knife in the back.
I currently have Sam Down Order buried 6 feet under in my backyard. It was the only way for us to be able to
Your
manifest
sexual
the podcast.
fetishes have taken a real dark turn.
This is weird.
Hey,
He's always been a necrophiliac.
just because I'm the one willing to take the steps required to make this podcast a success, okay?
It is suspicious that we haven't heard anything from like Ken since you went on his cast. So there's been nothing out of
Paul?
War.
Not Ken.
Paul.
I mean
Paul.
Oh, for fuck's sake. No, it's because he's moving to Bermuda.
No, well,
We love you, Paul.
I have no proof of this whatsoever.
I am indifferent about you.
As far as I'm concerned, you appeared on War HQ and then Paul vanished.
Hey, look, there's a reason why
And you sent him to Bermuda.
our podcast is growing and growing, and it's because we've managed to take out the rivalry.
I'm sorry. I keep
Toast's
calling
got his
you.
own little podcast mafia. He goes, "You need a protection from me? I kill you if you don't." And then he just forces them all out.
No, I imagine it's like, I watched John Wick 2 last night, and you know how you have all like the criminal mastermind, there's all these like laws you have to follow. It's like, this is a sacred place, we do not fight in this place. There's like that with podcasts, like, you do not record and release episodes here. The Juggernauts control this ground.
Or it's more of a I'm Topher Shelby and I run this place.
Yeah.
Though speaking of podcasts, we've actually had a couple of shout outs.
Woohoo.
Do any of you guys listen to Snafu?
No, I've got
No.
better things to do.
I listen to Snafu, they're alright.
I'm joking.
They're great for work when you're bored of listening to your work colleagues. Listen to Snafu or myself on Juggernaut Bolt Action Podcast.
If I wanted to listen to a good podcast about bolt action, I just listen to the same thing we record.
Look, Snafu, sometimes variety is not the spice of life. Anyway, Snafu, we're very sweary, but we sound like we're having a lot of fun.
Well, fuck me, are we fun?
Fuck a duck with a barge pole. I don't know, I think the Americans are, like, for all of their shoutiness of being American, they're a lot more, like, polite, whereas we have, like, that British cunty banter thing going on.
Yeah.
Bunch of
Yeah, in America, if you say go to hell, that's that's very rude. You can't say that in front of people. Whereas in England, cunt is just another word for mate. So
You're alright, cunt, how you doing, mate?
Not all of us use that word.
I know some places
What,
in
mate?
England. I know some
Yeah,
places
mate.
in England
not
and
my
across
friend.
Britain where I have family that legitimately go up to their friends and go, "All right, wanker."
I never get wanker as an insult, because it's just like, hello, masturbator. It's like, yes, I'm an adult. Like,
Yes, I do that.
Yeah, it's a thing. I still have a hand and a willy, therefore, I masturbate.
A hand and a willy.
It's like, hello, breather. It's like, yes.
It's like,
yes, I do.
have horse will travel.
Fuck off.
Wasn't Dom Saw there? Isn't he a podcaster?
I met Dom. I said hello. I don't know if he's got a podcast. No, he's got his own like blog page and all that.
Oh, is that what it is? Is he a blogger?
Yeah, it's part of the Bolt Action celebrity group now.
Yeah. No, shout out
Wait,
to
so
Dom
if you're
Saw.
not a celebrity,
I'm a minor celebrity of the most minor
No.
variety.
He's the devil of Bolt Action. He's in the realm of
I don't know.
He's
I mean,
one step above noteworthy.
No one's shaking my hand in Tesco's yet. Let's put it that way.
The last time you were in Tesco, you bent down to pick up a pasty and put your back out, mate.
I know, that's why I'm in Audi.
And no one's shaking that hand because the last sentence you uttered was, "You've got a hand and a willy."
Hey, I'm a man of the people. I go to Audi like a very good working class man. None of this,
All right,
none of this
middle
posh
class.
Tesco shit. Yeah. I mean, I'm better than those Lidl people. Fuck that. If you go to Lidl...
Lidl's a step too far.
If you go to Lidl, just improve your life. You know what I mean? Just sort your life out. Don't go to Lidl. Nah, Audi. Any other feedback?
Andy, less salt, more tactical talk, please.
Sorry for this episode, Andy.
Yeah.
We tried.
Ooh, there will be a just a tip next episode, just for
Let us know what tip you want. Like one thing. Don't just say, "Oh, how do I like win games?" Be like, say like, how do I use snipers, or how do you use jeeps? I don't know. It's a bit more specific.
Yeah.
Some ideas we can use.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
one of the things he said was he'd like a bit more of like how your games went during the day. But obviously, there's far too much detail to remember there, and sometimes just saying we did this, that, and the other as a bit of tactical advice is lost because you weren't there to see the board as it was laid out, the order that the dice came out, this, that, and the other. So
It took us 20 minutes to say win, 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 Dan. Win, loss, loss, draw, Pete. Win, win, loss, draw, Toph, or whatever it was.
Whoa, I'll have you know I was mid-table, win-win, loss-loss.
Oh, sorry, I slightly elevated you above a mediocrity for which you are not worthy.
I basically shouldn't have gone because I got 2 wins, 2 losses. Average is right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Akhtar confirmed that they do have Fireman Sam and CBeebies over in Tasmania. That was a bit of feedback after all the Fireman Sam jokes last week. Toph says that this raises more questions than it answers because it means that Tasmania might have in the night garden. And that's very upsetting because it means that it might be nighttime, like in the middle of the day over there. And so like in the night gardens like exist in different time zones, and that's just confusing.
But
I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, so is in their night garden in their morning garden? And
Oh, is it in the morning garden? Because that'd be trippy.
But the question is, does Iggle Piggle still have all those bitches in his bed? Because he just keeps getting in girls' beds. It's a bit pervy, isn't it?
You have far too much time on your hands, Toph.
Yeah, Toph always wants to ride the Ninky Nonk. I hope that people who are listening to this have no idea what night. And I hope that you think I'm being
dear.
incredibly racist. Because I'm not.
Half of the listeners don't have kids and don't have any interaction with kids, and they think we're talking utter shit. The other half have got kids or have had young kids or young nieces or something, and they also want to ride the Ninky Nonk, and they know exactly what we're talking about.
And they still think we talk utter shit.
Yeah. So we need to think of some British TV that they might not have had in Tasmania. Because it seems that everything we've mentioned, they seem to understand.
What shit TV do we have which they wouldn't dare export?
That's a good question.
Who's that guy?
Oh, Balamory.
What's the story of Balamory?
Yeah, what should we do today? I bet that doesn't export.
Is that because it doesn't work on, any kind of voice technology?
It is pretty terrible. Like when you've got a man called Archie who lives in a pink castle, you just know that everything's a bit weird. It's got good theme music though. It's catchy.
I think we may have just lost our entire
Do
audience.
you reckon they have celebrity juice? Like Keith Lemon?
Oh, definitely not. No, definitely not.
Keith Lemon?
Nah.
That he's very British, isn't he?
They might have had Bo Selector when it came out,
Maybe.
but I doubt Celebrity Juice went across.
Okay. Right. Anyway, I've got some like an actual email here.
Whoa. Before you get to your email, have we noticed that Gordon is alive.
What? Gordon's always
Gordon's
alive.
alive.
He's like one of our most prolific commenters.
He won't leave us alone.
So before we get into the email, I don't know how long this email is. Gordon's messages and asking about a YouTube channel. His favourites have stopped posting. All I'm going to say is watch this space.
Pete's just got to delete all the dodgy videos on his computer first, so he's got room to make the new videos for a Juggernaut YouTube channel.
Shut up!
Let us know what you'd like to see, because we could just fill it with random rubbish like this, and we'll probably upload the podcasts to it. But
we'll definitely upload the podcast. Yeah.
If we wanted to create some actual content, like, what do you want to see? Because we don't want to provide stuff that no one wants to see, and like there are some pretty good bolt action battle reports out there. We could probably do a pretty good job as well, but it depends. Like, if you don't want that, what do you want?
I'm just happy that I'm not going to have anything to do with this bit, because I do all like the podcasting, editing, and all that, which is why I do such a shit job, and that's why it's such low quality, because I'm in charge of this bit. So hopefully, if Pete does the YouTube side of it, that'll actually be quite good, because I don't have to do anything. And then the further away I am from it, you know, the better it'll be.
I'm going to lose my mind to video editing, sorry, so whatever.
Yeah, right, so this email anyway. So, do you guys remember Daniel Kratzer from Canada? He was one of our first emails back in the day. And he was the one who offered us all a trip to Canada so we can go roll dice with him.
Is that the one that...
Is that all expenses paid?
Yeah, he didn't have to pay for our tickets,
well,
did he?
we asked for that, and he never got back to us, the dick. So it's like, well, it's a bit of a hollow invite, isn't it? Come on. Honestly. Anyway. So, Daniel says, hello guys, after listening to your last podcast and your remark that you get a little less comments from your listeners, I wanted to do my part. See, Daniel steps the fuck up, does his part, and messages in, talks shit with us. Boom. Honestly, I'm looking forward to each new episode, as it's always a productive painting session for me while listening to you guys. Sweet. Also, thanks for listening to you and with the feedback emails around my list. I have to say I've got better in bolt action, at least from my perspective. Well, you know, yours is the opinion that matters, mate. I don't know how good you are. I don't play you. You're outside the world.
We appreciate the feedback, but you say you're from Canada, Mr. Kratzer, and your email doesn't have any A in it. It doesn't apologise. You don't mention maple syrup, Mounties, or mooses. I don't believe you're really
Jim
Canadian.
Carrey, Celine Dion.
As is tradition.
And you've not dipped your arms in the custard, as is tradition.
His profile picture isn't Chad Kroger, so...
Yes, Daniel Kratzer, we demand proof that you're Canadian.
Sheffield demands proof. I'm not really bothered.
And then he's put, however, I'm still waiting on the best sportsmanship award in any of the tournaments. It seems like I cannot have anything. It's because you've become a Juggernaut, mate. You don't win sportsmanship awards. Oh wait, yeah, I've won a couple. No, just get nice.
You know how you win sportsmanship awards? You take Juggernaut Smurfs route and just bribe people with chocolate all tournament.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, you can be competitively sportsman. We'll have to get Smurf on one day to explain his technique of how to be competitively the best sportsman.
Competitively, the top sportsman ever. Nobody else is a better sportsman.
It is a science, because only Smurf has gone to tournaments specifically going, I'm going to win best sportsman, and then actually manages it. And I can't explain it. It's very specific in how he does it. It basically just goes around bribing people. You know, whatever. Anyway, so Daniel goes on. One question that I have, it happened to me that I was playing in a tournament and my opponent was always questioning the rules, especially if it was negative for him. You know, oh, that sounds a bit harsh, let me read it.
Was he playing against his wife?
Yeah. And was just a pain in the ass. So for the overall game time, we lost like 30 minutes because I had to show him the rules and read it through with him. How do you guys deal with such an opponent? Otherwise, I wish you good luck in the GT. Whoops. That aged quickly. And a Merry Christmas. Looking forward to that Christmas episode. Yeah, this is a very bad Christmas episode because we ain't got much Christmas. Best regards and greetings from Toronto. We did this, didn't we? Like, with slow play a few episodes back, didn't we?
Yeah, there was one done with slow play because it was a big one at the time.
I would say that my technique is, if you see this thing happening, is win big and win quick. So if there's something where, like, you need to advance on to an objective, don't wait for it. Don't put a few pins and do it next turn. No, you need to win by turn 2 or turn 3. If it's like envelopment, do run orders, not advance orders. You know what I mean? Because what you don't want is you don't want to be stuck where you would win in 2 turns, but you haven't got 2 turns because the game's ended. You need to be winning so that he needs to concentrate on actually playing you to not let you win. I know there's a couple of slow players in the UK. I know Pete's had a lot of experience with a couple of them. So if you get yourself into a position where you're winning quickly, if they want to slow play, it's their own issue because they're going to be the ones who then fuck up their own game. And quite quickly you'll see, suddenly they're quite quick. Suddenly, it's suddenly they start playing quickly. So that's interesting, isn't it? Why? Because they want to catch up with you. That's my
It's amazing when you go ahead on a kill points mission and then decide to go and hide because they're slow playing. It's amazing how quickly they run after you.
Yeah, I think beyond that, I don't think there's much more you can do other than potentially getting a TO over. But then it gets a bit sticky because it's one of those grey areas where what constitutes as slow play versus someone who's just a slow player. And if someone's always questioning the rules again, it's a grey area. How you don't know whether someone's doing it intentionally or not. All you can do is make sure that you're playing your game spot on and you're getting the shit you need to do done, so that it's the ball's in his court to not ruin his own game.
I don't give advice to faux Canadians.
Wow.
Suck it up, Daniel.
Hey, you should like him. In his PS, unfortunately, I did not have a pick for Sheffield with a closed box. So here's a picture, and then he sent a picture of some painted Soviets. So he didn't do what we all would have wanted him to do and upset you, Sheffy.
Don't care.
I mean, that is going very, very well at the moment. Thanks to Juggernaut Sparley for keeping Sheffy completely enraged at all times.
Does he have nothing else to do? Like, he is genuinely, criticises us for wasting too much time in WhatsApp and Facebook, but he's the worst of all of us.
It's because he's a health and safety officer. Like, what do they do? If they're doing
That's the point. What do they do?
If they're doing their job properly, they don't have to do anything because everyone's just doing what they should do and not dying. It's only when he's shit and people start dying that he has stuff to do. So what else do you do?
Now I can only imagine him going up to people going, "You dead yet? No?
Yeah,
Good."
It's all his job is sitting there going, "Everyone's fine, so I'm going to post memes." That's, I mean, I'd do the same thing. I'm cursed with having to work for a living, so.
He's constantly tagging me in pictures of boxes. It's genuinely a bit annoying. And I know that saying on this podcast, with you lot laughing in the background, we'll just encourage him to do it more. But please, Spurley, I beg of you, as a Christmas present, just give me a day.
Just unfriend him and then he can't tag you anymore. Block him.
He probably hasn't considered that. Just unfriending him.
He'd tag me with his wife's craft Facebook page thing instead. He's a very resourceful man.
That's why he's in health and safety.
Right, come on, that was feedback. Shall we do some hooby blooby nooby looby looby hooby looby?
Mr. Blooby 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 Blooby.
Good day, mate. Crikey, you see over there? That there is a wild Mr. Blobby. And I'm going to really go and piss it off now, because I'm going to go sneak up behind it and put my thumb up his bumhole.
Crikey, he's going to go mental at you.
Crikey, he's going for it. He's going for it. Hold on.
Pete, you just sounded like a hobbit.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that
All
was
I am
meant
is a hobbit.
to be
Crikey.
Australian, and
Good
what
day,
we've
mate.
given you is van drivers.
Got a
from
couple
North-
of those dollary-doos waiting for you at home. Good day, mate.
What I gave you was a short trip to New Zealand.
Do you know, I've just come up with a
Hello,
brilliant
Mr.
idea.
Frodo.
A brilliant idea for how we can engage our listeners more. We should have a competition every week, and we should get Toph to introduce the Blobby's Hobby Lobby with an accent. The first person to write in with the correct answer of what they think it was wins.
But the only way I could do is Gollum, precious. Why would I waste my talents with you stupid fat hobbitses?
There's no way to eat a brace of conies.
What's a coney?
Blobby hobby blobby time it is.
Don't you be bringing actual Mr. Blobby words in here, Sheffy. You're disgracing the name Hobbyist Blobbyist.
Hobbyist Blobbyist. Oh dear.
And his cousin, Biggest Dickers.
Don't
He
even
has a wife, you know.
Speaking of
Incontinentia.
speaking of big dick energy, I actually complete my pledge this month.
Whoa.
Are you serious?
Me too.
I
Was it an actual pledge this month? Unlike your last month, which was just a joke.
it was. It was finish my GT list, and I finished my GT list. What's wrong with that?
It's a bit vague. Come on, mate. We ripped you apart
Your
for it
face
last
is a
time.
bit vague, but I can still make out where the eyes and noses.
Such a rubbish comeback. It's the comeback of a person with nothing else to say. It's like, yeah, and your mum.
Well, while you mention it,
If you want Toast real comeback, it's on your mum's teeth.
Nice.
oh, that takes me back to being a 14-year-old at school. That was the bomb. You could get everyone back with that one.
Yeah.
It's when you're playing Call of Duty or like Halo, and your mates are beating you, and they're shit talking you. Just go, well, you know what? It's really hard to play when I got my finger halfway up your mum's butt.
So back onto the subject at hand. Toph finished off his stuff for the GT.
Yes.
Excellent.
And your pledge for this month was what?
No, that was what my pledge is going to be this month. I am going to build more Polish Lancers because I've only got like 26 of them, and I need more.
Oh, that's not enough.
I've brought more, so I'm going to have like 39. So I'm going to get more built because I need to do some conversion work and all of that stuff. So it's a bit more involved than just sticking a metal guy to a base. So building 13 Polish cavalry. That's my pledge for this month.
Nice. Dan was on paint 2 howitzers and crew and a bonus cav riders.
Yeah, so I painted the 2 howitzers, I've painted the crew, I've completed the cavalry, I have stuck them on their horses, and I have cut up a bunch of bricks and painted them and glued them onto the bases. My pledge for this month for bolt action related is to buy Valhalla and Blizzard technical paint stuff and snow little bits of all the Belgian bases, and then the army is done.
You know the
And then I'm
Belgians
gonna
were
try.
defeated in summer, right?
I know, but this is the cobbled together initial forces for the Belgians. So during the winter, you cobble a whole army together, send it out, and then it just gets picked apart piecemeal from there.
They didn't fight in winter. They died and surrendered by then. It was only in May. Which winter?
Yeah. I don't care.
Well, it's a what if. It's a what if they survived for another couple of months, or what if they were even worse?
It's
It's
a what if force, or what if Dan didn't give a shit?
What if? Big one here. What
Basically,
if?
yeah.
What if it wasn't snow?
What if
Then-
there's loads of cocaine?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though,
They've all got really bad dandruff.
Dan, you sure it's not Dave Druff?
Whee.
I've
That
got a
was
question.
Paul.
No, you've been talking about your Belgians for like 4 months now. When are you actually going to
Yeah.
do them?
I'm taking
Yeah,
them to Rebel
stop
Creek.
calling a Pete.
Yeah, I'm taking them to Rebel Creek, and because I'm hoping that if I can get the snow stuff in the next couple of days, get it all done, all the Belgians are done then, I'll take them to Rebel Creek, see how they do, take them to a couple of... I might take them to Gaz's event as well.
What shall
But
when
that's
I
it.
don't go to Rebel Creek, what shall I take when I don't go? What shall be the army that I don't take?
I don't think you should take your Polish when you don't go.
I might not take my Polish. Yeah, I might not take my Polish to Rebel Creek when I don't go to Rebel Creek.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think we've said Rebel Creek more times on this podcast than we've said Juggernaut Bolt Action.
It's a
podcast.
local It's a local group. They're running a tournament using our pack. Have given us free tickets, and they're very new to the community because they've only been playing Bolt Action a year, and I like them more than you. Fuck off.
Oh. Well, okay.
They've been
we
to
talk
more
about
events this year than you.
them. Yeah.
Oh, there it goes. One event, Sheffield comes back.
2 events this year.
Which
You
ones?
hosted one of them.
Still counts.
Hosting doesn't- okay.
No, it doesn't.
I was there. It was an event. It counts.
That's what your missus says about sex.
I was literally about to say that's what I just... What was your pledge, Sheffield? Did you do anything this month?
I think I pledged to paint a big gun, either a howitzer or my Pack
Yeah,
43, and I think I pledged to paint a squad. I think I pledged to paint the rest
One
of
big
my.
cut and 10-man SS squad.
So I did complete that pledge. So I painted my Pack 43 and the crew for it and the horse limbers, and I'll put some pictures up of that before this comes out. and then I have painted. Well, I haven't finished the 10-man SS squad, but I did fully paint a 10-man Kriegsmarine squad. So I have fully painted 10 men,
failed.
and I've part painted the SS. Come on, like I've painted in the last 2 months. I've painted like 50 bolt action people, and I've painted half.
That's
a King
like
Tiger.
3 years worth of
I
painting.
failed my pledge because I said I was getting stuff ready for the GT, and I didn't get everything ready for the GT. But I still did loads of stuff.
It's a good thing the GT organisers didn't pledge to get everything ready for the GT.
Wow.
You're going to Gaz's event, aren't you?
Absolutely, yes.
I'm taking an MMG. Now you have to take an MMG.
Fine, there's 2 in my list, and both of them are experienced.
Okay, you can take a third because I know some of the German lists allow you to take 3.
I don't think mine does, but if I can, I will.
Gaz will let you. You know he'll let you. Don't say that. I'll say Gaz.
I like them.
Just
can Sheffy
upgrade the
take
ones you've got to regular minimum.
No, make them both vet. They'll already be regular.
Well, if I'm going to go vet, I might as well go for the super vet upgrade from Overlord, because you can make a single MMG team for Germany. I think you can make them 85 or 90 points for an MMG team.
Jesus.
Because
What
they're
does that give
veteran.
them?
So you can pay for veteran. They have to be veteran, so 65 points already. And I think you can pay, it's either 15 or 20 points to give them +1 penetration against infantry.
Oh, so you just make it a heavy machine gun. I guess it's 6 shots rather than 3.
It's a 6-shot heavy machine gun.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
pretty good,
only
actually.
against infantry.
That's pretty good.
I mean, not
Okay,
for
it's
80,
an
not for
85
80 points, but you know.
Yeah, it's an 85 point. It might even be 90 point medium.
Yeah,
machine
take
gun.
that. Take that.
Take 2 of them.
He did paint some models. Let's give him that.
Okay, take 1. Yeah,
That's
but
right.
then if he's got 2 in his list, he's got to point out which one's which each time. It'd almost be easier for him to just take 2,
Yeah, that's true.
and then put the second lieutenant in the middle and snap him.
Well, I'm planning on bringing 2 MMG teams to an event. Come on. Surely I get some credit for completing my pledge
Yeah,
as well.
you do get that.
I've been painting a lot.
Okay. Yeah, but you take it. You should. You know, when you said, "Oh, I'm taking 2 anyway," you should have acted like all depressed, and it would have made better content for the podcast.
This is an odd put down. Like,
I mean, we are shocking individuals that we were stood there in the middle of the GT going, "Ooh, content."
I mean, to be fair, I think this has been the most highly anticipated episode so far. In that we've on the day, I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear you guys talk about it." I'm just like, "What do you think we're gonna do?" And they're like, "You get salty." Like, yeah, we are gonna get salty.
I mean,
That's exactly what we're.
I'm gonna get my chips out, cover it in some salt, it'll be fine.
So, yeah, how's this for the most anticipated episode ever?
Yeah,
so I should pledge what I'm going to do next, shouldn't I?
you should. Yeah.
I'm going to finish the Tiger 2 that I'd started painting, and then I'm going to finish. I'll paint the Puma as well. I'll paint 2 vehicles.
Wow. Okay. 2
Which
vehicles,
month?
or are you specifying Tiger 2 and Puma?
Yes.
Wait, no.
No, he asked you a question. Which is it?
Oh no, both of them.
Oh, right.
I'm going to finish painting the Tiger 2 I have started painting, and I will paint. Currently, there's no paint on it. I'll paint the Puma.
Is it that giant 1/48 scale one, or is it the new
No.
one? Oh, okay.
No. They're 1/56.
Oh, okay. They're the correct size.
I've got a question for you, Sheffy.
Oh.
In which month is it going to be that your pledge is to flake from Gaz's tournament?
Well, it'll either be, depending on when we record them, it'll either be the February one or it'll be the March one. So it's not going to be January.
You're not going to flake our finest hour, are you?
No, I shouldn't be able to.
Because don't flake our own event. I mean, you are a flake, but there's a next level, and I don't think we could get there, but you apparently can get there. Don't you dare.
Yeah, I don't
Flakes
think I
always
can.
find a
flake.
way, Tove.
Oh, they fucking do, don't they?
I'm not the flakiest member of the Juggernauts. I'm the flakiest member of this podcast. I'm not the flakiest Jugger.
Only since we actually started moving the club to your own workplace. That's what it bloody took.
Once again, still counts.
Okay, so your pledge, my pledge is lots of Polish cavalry. Sheffy's painting a King Tiger and a Puma. Pete, what was you doing?
I was finishing off my GT stuff, which was 10 infantry and an AA gun. And if I could be asked, do the 10 bamboo spearfighters. Guess what? I couldn't be asked.
Is that this month's pledge then? Bamboo Spearfighters?
So, because, it's the December one and we'll most likely be recording for January, so I've got a bit of time, bit of Christmas time, it'd be good. I'm going to paint 30 bamboo spearfighters.
Nice.
30.
30.
Wow.
Do you own
Because-
30?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, screw you, Daniel.
What if we, record...
Daniel?
What? Okay. That's...
Full Christian name, eat that.
He's only supposed to use that name in bed, so I don't know why
I
he's
just
bringing it out
imagine
now.
if we end up recording, in the period between Christmas and New Year's, ready to get it out for, New Year's Day or something, and Pete's just, furiously hungover, trying to, contrast paint a load of naked to the regulars. He's like, I can't fucking get it ready in time. That's what's going to happen.
But if you can contrast paint an entire Polish army in 3 hours, I'm sure Pete can do 32.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
my
that's what I was gonna say.
contrast level's no bounds. Pete is a Padawan compared to me in terms of cranking out shite.
That's so unfair. Drunk Pete painting bamboo spearfighters is still a little bit more precision and time than you in contrast on your Polish cavalry.
I still have infinitely more painting awards than you lot do.
Well, here's one that's going to really baffle you. I'm not painting the bamboo boys with contrast.
What the fuck is wrong with you, Pete?
Because I will be next year. I'll be painting the British with contrast.
Okay.
He's got a bit of pride in his work, that's what it is.
No, I've already base coated them, so it's too fucking late.
Oh, I was trying to give you some credit, but okay.
If
No,
only
mate,
if
it's
only
just too
pride
fucking
converted into gold. Just get good like me, guys. Just get good like me. I'll tell you what, though.
And here's something for you. I'm not taking Japanese to Rebel Creek,
Brits.
What? Germans.
so I'm going to have to paint some sort of German tank.
Pete,
What sort of German
I was
tank?
going to say you could borrow one from me. I've got all of them. Every
When-
time they ever made.
When the tank I want to take is a tank I own, I probably should paint it.
Ooh.
It is a good excuse to make you
Taking
do
your
it.
panther.
Yeah.
Big cats on the loose. That's so much fun.
Meow.
What's the bet? Pete runs out of time and just takes a panther term, so he has to paint the turret.
No. I did really think about the Kugel Blitz.
I don't know if you got time towards the turret though.
No,
'cause
I got
it's
time to wait over Christmas.
Yeah, the only guys that sell it are in Germany, I think. So, yeah, it's probably a good shout. Cool. So,
Panther to Rebel Creek with some German dudes on, probably, I don't know.
Dan, what was your pledge again?
Finalise the Belgians,
Okay, cool.
get them all done,
Yeah.
and then I'll be doing some non-bolt action related painting
Actually-
as well.
Yeah, maybe we should. Maybe that's what we should do for our first couple of videos. We should each do a video of the 1,000 points or so that we're paying at the moment. So Tove could do his Polish, Dan does his Belgians. That would mean I have to paint 1,000 points of stuff there. So maybe not.
Right, we're doing
Wow, I
There
think
you
that's
go.
the quickest you've ever flaked on an idea before.
No, actually, I think it should be quite good though. If everyone just picks 1,000 points of what they're currently working on, did a little intro video of it. That might
Yeah.
be quite an interesting thing to do. 10 minutes each.
I'd really have to clean up my painting desk. It's
Listeners,
a fucking shame.
let us know what you want to see. Is
You
that a
won't
good
need to
idea
clean
or
up your
not?
painting desk. We just bring it down a club and you film it there.
Ooh, okay. Right, I think we're at the end. I want to take the time, because we're probably not going to release anything again this month, to wish everyone a happy Christmas.
And a fappy New Year.
Ho, 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 everyone. And that's enough of talk about your sisters.
Oh, fapping and hose. This is not the Christmas spirit I was expecting.
Well, Santa only gets to use his North Pole once a year.
Hey.
Have we got any Christmas wishes? Have you asked Santa for any bolt action, people?
I ain't gonna get bloody models for Christmas. It don't happen. I'm
I
gonna
have
get
got
socks.
no idea what army I want to do after the Belgians, so no.
Italians!
Boop-de-de-boop-de.
It is tempting to do Western Desert Italians.
Oh, boo.
They're actually good though, so you don't want to do them. The whole point of doing Italians is they're garbage.
Well, that is true,
I
yeah.
mean, Dan's hobby is taking an army and then going around telling everyone they're shit, and then absolutely annihilating people with them. So I think he'd be very well suited to Italians.
Mate, I'm shit about action.
I'm shit about action. Oh
And
no,
then
mate, you're shit.
the whole Manchester. I'm shit at bolt action.
What you need to do is do the army that Luke's currently claiming to do, but do it properly. So Juggernaut Luke has just finished a ridiculously infantry-heavy partisan army, and he's going to do a Soviet army, and he's going to do it a ridiculous, inexperienced Soviet horde army. And we all think he's a moron, an unoriginal moron.
I don't think we can communicate into words how just disappointed we all are in Luke right now.
He's got British, which is Home Guard spam with a unit of commandos and a Bren. He's got Partisans, which is inexperienced horde spam, and instead of commandos and a Bren, it's a unit of cavalry. And now he's moving to Russians, which will be Strafbat and Inex squad spam, probably with like a unit of tank riders and a heavy howitzer and some dog mines.
But
Guys, have we not thought that Luke might actually have a problem? Because he seems to always want to paint infantry.
Yeah, well, doesn't he play Imperial Guard in 40k as well?
Yeah.
So he's got infantry spam. It's just a complete joke. So Dan needs to be the one to do the army that Luke should be doing. Dan, do mechanized Soviets with
Just do a
tanks.
veteran Soviet list.
All body armor Soviets in Komsomlets.
Oh, Jesus.
No, do the Budapest Soviets. You know, the ones where they shed D2 pins every time they pass a test.
Yeah.
They could be really... I'm not seeing them in the field. They could be really cool. There you go, Santa. Get Dan some Soviets, please.
Need to buy myself an army book.
I'd like a mouse.
I'm only really going to be getting socks, jumpers, t-shirts, just clothes.
Yeah.
Hey, don't knock the clothes though. Fantastic. Don't need to buy them.
Are your pants the most religious thing in your room as well, like mine and my socks are?
No, my socks are
They're
quite
so holy.
I tend to make sure my underwear is comfy and clean. I don't know about you.
It's wasters, man. Waster.
Oh, are you Captain Universal Underpants?
Are we still recording?
It is hard to tell. I was just thinking that as well.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Balamori.